everyone, I'm Alanah. That's Jake, that's Yong, and that is Ralph. And welcome to another episode of this thing that we do where we talk about games every few months.
Good name.
Question mark?
This thing that we do. I think that's
three
a
question marks.
title.
Right.
For us.
3 question marks.
It's giving I did a thing Twitter vibes, which I'm not a huge fan of, but we're making it work. So I wanted to catch up with you guys to talk about just like 2022 in terms of Game of the Year, how we feel about the actual Game Awards nominees, but broader, how do we feel about 2022 in general? And I thought I would just start with the hot, easy question of Jake, what's your Game of the Year?
Oh, Jesus.
Go.
Oh, boy. I didn't prepare. I'm not done. So I kind of go through a process where I play catch up on games like right up until the tail end. Like I don't put out my video until like the end of December. So I'm still grinding, but I just rattling off Vampire Survivors, Rollerdrome, and God of War probably are up there for me.
I could not get into Rollerdrome.
Dude.
What?
I know,
That's
it's a
my
bummer.
game.
How is that possible? I don't understand. Please explain.
I just sucked at it. Like, I'm just really fucking bad at it. And I was like, was that because I was playing with keyboard and mouse? But I tried for a good 5 hours and I just fucking sucked. And so I just kind of dropped off because I just couldn't get good.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I even emailed PR. I was like, I'm so bad. I don't...
Thank you for that. Thank you for letting us know.
Actually,
it's not the game's fault.
We wish you well in our next title. Hopefully you're better at it.
They sent me a video and I was like, yeah, I get all that. I'm just really bad at it. And
they sent you a how-to guide.
They're like, you got to do it like this.
Video on how to not suck in
they did. They super did.
This helps.
It doesn't mean that I don't like it. Like it's definitely not something that I'm like, I don't like this game, because I think it's very stylishly cool. And watching people who are good at it play it, I'm like, hell yeah. But for me, I just couldn't. I don't know. It just wasn't my thing.
Is it better played with keyboard and mouse or controller?
I didn't try controller.
Doesn't matter? Okay.
A controller, I reckon, is the only... I can't imagine playing that game with a keyboard and mouse.
I feel like
Maybe
with
that
whipping
was
the mouse, like it might be good to whip the mouse and
maybe
midair, but I played with a controller and I was good.
Maybe I should
I'm
give it
also
another
like
try.
hardwired for those. Like my brain is wired for those types of games, so I was very, very about it. Like I said it then, but I feel even more strongly now where like if I could make a game, it would be a hodgepodge of a lot of that. Like I just love skateboarding and combos, but also guns and cool characters and sci-fi and stuff. So it's kind of like, it's just good.
I guess
hope they make a sequel.
To extrapolate for the viewers at home who've not played Rollerdrome, because I don't think it is nominated for Game of the Year, probably one of the lesser talked about games that's still from a big publisher. What is it? What do you like about it?
It is essentially a single-player arena roller derby killing game where you progress through levels that get more and more challenging. And it's kind of like Tony Hawk, where it's like, here's a level, here's a checklist of things to accomplish, like get the secret tape. But it's not get the secret tape or collect the letters. It's like headshot 6 snipers or do this type of grind while grenade launching this enemy. Like, so it's a lot of that. It's also super stylized and very like I don't even know how to describe it. It's very like indie, like cell shaded, cool vibe. But it's really straightforward, and you're on rollerblades and you hop and grind and combo around the levels while shooting people. But the ammo refill is tied to doing tricks, so you're constantly incentivized to do a bunch of tricks all the time and build on them and stuff. Also, you don't fall. You can't fall down, which some people think that just makes the game baby easy mode, but it's not the case at all if you play the game for like 5 minutes, because it's really, really challenging and it lets you focus on just doing the cool shit and trying to be accurate and kill dudes as much as possible. So it's like a really addictive thing that progresses. And in between, there's like a little bit of story and a little bit of world building. There's not a lot. I wish there was more. It's really just about the gameplay, and it's good as hell. It's really good when it's challenging. It gets pretty like white knuckle, but it's just really satisfying. As someone who's always wanted, and really there are games out there that do this, but like games that are Tony Hawk with guns. This is one of the good ones. This is probably the best Tony Hawk with guns concept game.
It's a little bit Doomy, like modern Doom in a way. I felt like the momentum of like an arena in Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal of you constantly needing to move and pick stuff up. Like, and to even get your ammo back, right? Like, you're running around just like trying to get stuff done, but obviously tying Tony Hawk combos.
That and
together.
also being like, okay, this gun for this guy, okay, this gun for that guy, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
swapping back and forth and just kind of like constantly thinking.
But also like some ace combat as well, because you had to do it in like attack passes. You couldn't just go wherever you like. You kind of have to like line up a run and be like, okay, cool. I missed that guy that time. I'm gonna circle back around, get some distance, and then like every major attack is like like a trench run in Star Wars. Do you know what I mean? And it creates this very sort of like time pressure thing where you have to nail that shot in that moment, or you have to veer off because you're like, fuck, I missed, pull up, and I love that. It was fantastic.
And a lot of enemy management too, where like you might see a heavy that like you're like, I don't have any grenades, so let me go around another pass, do a couple kick flips, and then I'll come back around and blow you up. Like not kick flips because you're on rollerblades, but like feet flips.
Is it safe to call this game John Woo's Pro Roller Skater?
That's a good, there's no doves.
Exactly
there
what
are
it
no
is.
doves, but yeah, straight up.
That is pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely a really unique game that I was actually surprised to not see get more nominees across the board. Did it get nominated for anything at the Game Awards? I'm not sure.
Not that I saw.
We'll take a
It's
look.
if it indie categories, you were going to go through.
I
That's
don't
cool.
think it is an indie.
No, I know it's not. I'm just saying I was going to read out the indies, but we can come back to those when you're ready.
Well, Ralph, what's your game of the year?
I mean, like it's like God of War and Elden Ring. Like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But like, I just think that's kind of not very interesting to talk about, if you know what I mean. Because I feel like clearly
It's pretty consistent.
It's pretty consistent. It's like, okay, some people are going to feel God of War is better for certain reasons. Elden Ring is better for others. I mean, Elden Ring has this kind of Tolkien-esque level of imagination and reach that it just seems so expansive. It's sort of like beggars belief. But then obviously God of War is incredibly cinematic and polished, and it's just, this summer blockbuster and incredible. So both of those are great. I think I don't really know which one I prefer. I think I had more fun playing through God of War and enjoyed it more per se. But then I'd look at something like at Elden Ring and I'm just like, well, you just have to appreciate what this is and just kind of marvel at its construction.
And also just the impact that it had. We were talking about that for months. Yeah. It was all anyone spoke about for months. Like mine are also God of War and Elden Ring, but I feel like I have to remove God of War because that doesn't count for me. So I feel like I think Elden Ring's probably going to win at the Game Awards.
Oh, there's no way it doesn't. I reckon.
Yeah. But I think that both games are fantastic and will get awarded across multiple websites just across the board.
Yeah,
and
without question.
Yeah.
Lucky for us to have both in the same year. They're both great.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
That's very true.
Yeah. Ralph, do you have any picks for games that are not those two?
I think Vampire Survivors is legitimately top tier. Everyone is always like, is that a meme? You're just trolling on that one. Like, is this? No, it's actually an incredible game. Just so brilliantly built. It has spawned its own subgenre with like hundreds of clones. It is endlessly addictive. It is just pure video game, like distilled, and
it might be the most video game.
It is the most video game of 2022, even though it was released in 2021. I think it was just it sneaks in on this cutoff.
Has it just
actually got its official
now? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it got it. That's right. It released in early access last year, so it is technically correct to say it released this year in 2022. Okay. But it's just like it's just crack and it's crazy and it's so good that it's just this little. Is it one person developer? I actually don't know.
Whoa,
is it
really?
one person?
I
think it was one person.
Okay, right, sure. And so just to create that sort of phenomenon was really amazing. But yeah, I'm also with Jake on Rollerdrome. I think that's easily going to be in my top 5. I think that was fantastic. One game that I really hope gets some love at the end of the year is Nobody Saves the World, because that came out in early Jan. I'm not sure if anyone remembers this one.
It was from
Juicebox.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so the people who made Guacamelee, Juicebox, they made something called Nobody Saves the World. Came out in January. Very little marketing pump behind it. It was on Game Pass, and absolutely fantastic title. It is like an ARPG crossed with Zelda, essentially, and oh man, it was fantastic.
It does look local co-op. Love that. Always love that.
Yes. Really brilliantly constructed, knew exactly what it's doing, and just didn't deviate from that. It's pretty short as well. You can move through it at like a nice canter. But again, that kind of like very watertight game design where they knew exactly which classes they were designing, how they could be combined in different ways, what kind of dungeons they could design that would force you to move between these different character classes and whatever. So smartly constructed, so
it
fun.
Looks like
so much
it also has a
personality.
good sense of humor. I just saw a quote that says "horse on horse" something.
It's a good laugh as well. So
Does look really pretty.
that one I hope really gets some love towards the end of the year, because I think of definitely one of the better things I played this year.
People loved Guacamelee. I wonder.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh good.
It was a great title.
I wonder why they didn't push that a little bit more. I guess it's self-published. It looks like Drinkbox
it's
publish.
It's funny. I actually thought the same thing at the start when it dropped. I'm like, where's the marketing behind this? What's up? And I still think, they really missed an opportunity there. Like, I feel like they fumbled the bag, because they had such a great title. And I think if they just pumped it harder, it definitely would have done much better, because it really deserves it. So, yeah.
I just love the phrase "pumped it harder" there. I just wasn't,
man. You got to put some
that.
marketing pump behind it. Pump it up. Let's go.
Well, we're talking about it now. Everybody go check it out.
That's it.
Yong, how about you? Picks for Game of the Year 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to be boring as well and say it is between Elden Ring and God of War for me. Elden Ring constantly kept me in a state of awe at what I was finding and discovering. And just when I thought I'd seen everything, there was a whole other incredible new section of the map that I didn't even know existed, that introduced just tons of new content and new boss battles that I was discovering in the post game. And it was just this constant ride of awe. And God of War, on the other hand, was just, it touched me sort of emotionally on so many levels, and the cinematography, the storytelling, the combat, and it's just like SkillUp said, it's the blockbuster with heart. And so it's just, both of these games blew me away in different ways, and I'm still struggling to pick which one of those two. They're just both so top tier. I want to say I'm leaning slightly more towards Elden Ring, just because it really kept me so invested for like 100 hours. Like, usually I tap out after like 100 hours, but I got through like 150 hours of this game. And even at that point, I felt like I was just still in that mode of, I need to see more. I need to see what this whole world has to offer. And like, very few games like keep my attention for that long. But then God of War is just such a tight package that really has exactly what it needs, and is just the right amount of length, in my opinion. But I think I'm slightly leaning towards Elden Ring. But outside of those two, I want to give a big shout out to Tunic. That game really, really, really impressed me. I love the game manual sort of exploration aspect, where they hint at things, and like, it's like little scratch notes that you might not notice at first, that you go, wait a minute, what's that over there? And then it opens up a whole new like realization that takes you to different parts of the map and opens up the game. And
it's also really precise. Like, the combat in Tunic is just so sharp. Like,
really
I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it.
It definitely takes some like Souls-like inspirations on that front. It's like Zelda and Souls kind of crossed over.
But they made it cute.
They did. Yeah, it's adorable. The visuals are fantastic. The art design is just
also
amazing.
The lore in Tunic is kind of underrated. Like, some of the sort of, the entities that you come across are just very weird and unique and interesting in a way that I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, you'll come across like some sort of like a god-like creature sometimes, like even the thing that runs the shop. It's very, I don't know, there's something about it that I was like, I want to know more about what the hell this world building is.
Everything,
it's cool.
Everything it evokes just makes you want to know more about whatever world building there is. It is interesting and fascinating. And then Sifu also has a special place in my heart this year.
Yes, dude.
The combat is just it's one of those, once you like get into the rhythm of it, it just feels so good to like know exactly what you're doing, and you're just in the zone and pulling every move precisely, and you're just kicking ass. And it's one of those combat systems where you really feel like you earned your victories. Where you really earned your your progression of getting better and getting faster at beating the levels, and combined with the art style and the whole aging idea and all these things. I just think it's a really clever game with combat that just keeps you hooked.
Sifu is my game of the year, removing Elden Ring and God of War.
Wow, yeah.
I
Hell
loved
yeah.
it. I was
Mhm.
just obsessed with it. And you're right that like it's so nuts that I have footage of the first time that I played it and how bad I was. And then the
Yeah,
fact that I can
yeah.
get through that level 10 times over without dying by the end,
Yeah.
and the other
Yeah.
levels which get way harder is like, I don't know, such a credit to how addictive I found it, and just
Yeah.
making sure that I think I got through every level except the last one, which I should still go and do without dying at all, and getting to that point and the puzzle that it creates is it's a matter of knowing the levels, knowing where the weapons are, and then picking which of the XP things that you want to go for. And I don't know, I adored it. I thought it was so cool.
Combined with how cool just the kung fu moves and all these things look, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just stylistically also just
Love
stellar.
the style. Yeah, music
Yeah,
was really
same.
good too. Like I adore Sifu. And I
Have either of you guys played it since it got updated with
I
like more
have.
modes and scoring and skins? Yeah,
Yeah.
No.
I really want
Oh,
to jump
no.
back in because I think it's only going to get better. Is that stuff cool?
for sure. Yeah,
didn't
it
know that.
Cool.
yeah, it's great. It takes just the base game and makes it cooler. There's a lot of like really fun little side stuff, but I didn't play with any of the skins. I didn't even realize that was a thing actually. So that's
Me neither.
top to bottom, I think Sifu fucking rules. And if it
Yeah.
weren't for these two juggernaut games of the generation that we have otherwise, again, one that I feel like I have no real opinion on, doesn't count, is I just think Sifu's so cool. Just absolutely awesome.
I love the mods.
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen-
Yeah.
Oh, the mods are so cool. The Batman one.
Oh,
the Daredevil
Batman.
hallway
So
one.
funny.
Neo. I mean, all you name it, it's all there.
Yeah.
It's so good. So there are a couple of games that we have not mentioned that are nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards specifically. And of course, not to suggest that the Game Awards is the be-all and end-all of Game Awards. My thing is it's just an easy way to aggregate popular opinion, really.
For sure.
So Playtail Requiem is nominated for Game of the Year. Has anyone played that?
Yes.
Yes.
How do we feel about it?
I have not.
I also haven't. I played the first hour, but haven't gone back to it just yet. But I love the first game. So is it an improvement from the first game?
I think I think most people will tell you that in every aspect it's an improvement. I would agree with that in broad strokes. The only thing for me is it becomes much bigger. It's a lot longer. It's probably at least 2 times as long, maybe 2.5 times as long as the first game, and I feel it becomes a little bit unwieldy as a result of that. And also it becomes very kind of AAA, and I think the first game had this sort of intimacy to it with its AA kind of finishings that made it really, I don't know, it just had like a special quality. Like you couldn't really put your finger on it.
I definitely think the word intimate is a good way to describe it. It feels like a very contained story, and
Exactly. And this is not that. It's so much bigger. It's like a big like swashbuckling pirate adventure. It's so much more sort of brash. And I think it didn't hit me in quite the same way as a result of that, even though, as I said, all of its aspects individually are better. So, but really great game. I think the Sobo are just like crushing it this last little while, because obviously they did Flight Sim and they did Playtail 1 and now 2. Like, this is a serious ass studio who are totally on the map now.
Games.
Yeah, that's right. They did
two.
Ratatouille in the past as well, actually, funny enough, because they used to do like licensed Disney platformers.
No
That's
way.
how they got their stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
they were
they
like,
made
"More
like
rats!"
Wall-E. Totally, exactly.
Wow.
But yeah, they're a serious art studio who are on the map for good, and they just make fantastic stuff. So yeah, certainly not in my top 10 list for games of the year, but just a really brilliant title. I think they nailed it. So
It's up there for me. It's definitely up there. I think for me, what holds it back a little bit, I think the luster is kind of gone from the first game, where it's like you only kill a couple of dudes and it's always kind of like impactful. Here it becomes very video gamey, but everything else I really like. I thought the performances were better than in the first game. I thought the music was absolutely
music really
incredible.
stood out to me.
And it just really freaking sold. Like the ending, like just hits, and that is gonna make me think about it, and it's gonna like stick with me. So
it sounds like from what I've seen, people tend to pretty much unanimously think it's a really beautiful story. Which I thought the music was fantastic, and I do think the lead is a really great performance as well.
She crushed it.
The only thing that I didn't love about the first game was some of the stealth segments.
You got a lot more of that here.
hell yeah.
Well, some of it was auto fail, which I think is generally just a thing I don't love. Are they the same in Requiem? Or do they put
more tools?
Say again, sorry, Jake.
There's more tools, but ultimately you're still sitting in grass waiting for a big man to walk by.
Yes.
I don't hate stealth across the board. It was just like
Yeah.
the way that it worked occasionally. Like I felt like I was failing for things that weren't my fault necessarily. Sometimes, like I love Thief, I'm alright with stealth. But again, I only had that problem with the first game. So, yeah, it seems like a game that I feel like everyone pretty much unanimously is like very happy with the story. Feels like it's really heartfelt. And it is nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. So obviously a lot of people really loved it, and I just need to go back and play it. You too, I guess. You know?
Yeah, the only reason I didn't play it is because I never played the first game, and I feel like this is a game that you really need to play the first game to play the second one, right?
So-
Would you say so?
I think so. I think you're
think
missing
so.
out on a lot when you don't. Yeah, it
So,
is possible, but I think it's not wise to do that. It's,
Yeah,
the
that's what I
first one's
felt.
about 10 hours. And if you like it, then you're like, cool. I love that. I want to do more of it. But if you get through that 10 hours and you're like, oh, I've probably had enough of this, then definitely don't play the second. Because the second is more of that, but obviously with that bigger budget factor as well. So
Okay, good to know. I'll give it a shot.
Next up is a game that unfortunately came out at a really bad time. Horizon Forbidden West.
Man.
For the second time. You got Breath of the Wild and you got Elden Ring, which is, it's nuts because I feel like those two games, like I almost feel like Elden Ring is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Like the impacts they have and the sense of wonder that you get from those two games is so unique and so
100%.
all encompassing that it just really sucks that Horizon came up against both of them.
brutal. It's really brutal.
I'm going to make a bold claim. I think that Horizon Forbidden West is one of the prettiest games I've ever played. It might be
100%.
the best looking game
it's
I've
up
ever
there.
played.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
up.
beautiful.
Totally.
The environments, the creativity of just, I mean, what they've done with this world is insane. The performance capture stuff and like that kind of RPG style dialogue, kind of cinematography, the way they do it, it looks so just like natural. Like the way the characters aren't just sort of standing still in the cameras and just sort of cutting back and forth. It feels so dynamic when the characters are talking. They're always like doing little things with their bodies, moving around, making faces, whatever it is. That just gives those interactions a lot more life than I'm used to with those types of like dialogue heavy games where you're making dialogue choices and stuff.
I may have said this in another podcast or maybe even with you guys, but like that game had NPCs that show up and they look so incredibly good that I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be around for a while. I can't wait to see what this guy's gonna do. And then he's like, all right, Aloy, have a good day. And then you never see him again. And I'm like, they put that much graphics in that one man?
Yeah. That much graphics in that one man. And they did. No, I think it is a beautiful game with a really beautiful world. And the gameplay's great. It's super fun. It just came out in a time where I didn't end up going back to finish it because Elden Ring came out. And I definitely also agree with the criticisms that Aloy talks a bit too much.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah. So does Kratos' companions, though, to be fair. So it's kind of a Sony thing at this point.
I don't think that's they're not talking about it. I don't think that's intentional. I think it's got to be to do with playtesting. It's like people are getting stuck a lot. So the feedback is encouraging that.
Yeah. In God of War, I think it was a better than it was in Horizon, especially because it wasn't Aloy talking to herself, but it was like the companions. Sometimes the hints were a little too blatant, but I feel like the timer of like how long you have to figure it out wasn't like, okay, you have 5 seconds. If you don't figure it out, you'll get the answer. It was like, I usually felt like they give you like a solid minute to look around and, find your solutions. And then it feels like the hints get progressively like, at first it's a little vague. And then the second hint is a little more like, maybe try this. And then the third one is just like, all right, I think this is a solution. So it's like, there's a progression to the dialogue based hint system that I think just makes it better than Horizon. But yeah, they could have dialed it back a little more still, but
I do
the only
think
people
across
that can
the
get
board,
away with it.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say the only people that can get away with it are like Batman and Geralt. Like Batman's always like, I'll need to cross-reference the data with the Joker's blood sample, or like Geralt being like, I smell something in the wind, must be witches. Like they can nail it, but I guess it's just specifically almost like the genre style or the character style.
Yeah, I really do think that it would be wonderful to have that be an option you can toggle on and off as an accessibility option. I think that is a thing worth exploring. It's like one other thing that I really wish games would do at this point that I don't think anyone has done is the ability to rewind a cutscene. Like if you miss something, wouldn't that be cool?
I've been there.
That'd be sick.
Like I
This is a good
don't
suggestion.
think I've seen anyone do that. And if you could, sometimes I'll like get a phone call in the middle of a cutscene or something, and I'm like, wait, what is happening?
Put that in the game. Do the thing.
I'll
You
try.
Can do it.
I'll do my best.
What I've done a bunch is utilize like the Switches or PS5's capture feature. So I'm like, wait, I missed dialogue. Rewind 30, like capture the game, play 30 seconds.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Rewatch it. Yeah, but yeah, it would be nice to still like have it in the game.
Yeah.
But it's like a nice little way to like sidestep that absence.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it'd be neat.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Forbidden West, I think, is something that like doesn't at all surprise me that it's up here. A lot of people really love it. I think it's a very well-made video game that I think that I never clicked as hard with the Horizon series in general as other people did. That said, like, I'm so impressed with what Guerrilla has done, especially coming from Killzone to making this. Yeah. Like, it's so fucking cool. Like, kind of inspiring. Yeah. Like, you can do whatever you want, whenever you can change, my man. And like, oh, I can. I think it's a really beautiful big game that I think maybe like something about I just got burnt out on that particular kind of open world. I'm not really sure, but I don't blame Horizon for it. It's like maybe it has some Assassin's Creed DNA that I kind of just bounced off of at some point.
Same with me.
Yeah. Which is kind of a bummer. The next one is Stray.
I'm surprised to see, like, not that it's a bad game, but it's just like I wasn't expecting Stray of all games to be one of the nominees.
Me too. Stray is the only one in... Well, okay, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a bigger surprise to me. However, I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is so extremely deserved that if it weren't there, I would have been like, just not enough people played it. So seeing it there, I'm super happy about. Stray, no doubt a lot of people played it. I just think I didn't expect it to end up being nominated for Game of the Year, probably because of the smaller scale and some of its limitations. Sure. I don't know. How did you all feel about Stray?
I mean, it's nice. It's really nice. It's perfectly pleasant and great to play through. I remember for a long time, actually, it was actually the highest rated game on Steam for 2022. Like, it eclipsed God of War. I think it still might be like the number 2 game right now after Vampire Survivors. Wow. So this is where we get into that like interesting question of like, well, if it's really popular and everyone really likes it, then that's it, right? Because this is a Game Awards and the most people liked this game, so therefore it gets on the list, right?
Yeah.
But then it's also like, well, how much did they like it? Does anyone of those people really think that this is like, yes, the best game that was released this year? I'm yet to find someone that actually says, I believe this was the best game released in 2022. So yeah, look, I think it's lovely. I'm really glad that it exists. I'm really glad for the developers because they obviously crushed and had mountainous success with it. But yeah, it's just a fairly pleasant game that you kind of roll through and you're like, cool, that was nice. And then you move on to the next thing. Game of the Year nominee just feels a little bit awkward for that one.
I really like Stray. I really, really like it. And I was like blown away by how well directed it is. I think the world is beautiful. I really liked the story. But you're right in a way that it was more that I think I found it extremely pleasant. And that I was like, I will die on a hill for this. And like, it was really sweet. And I will defend it against the like, oh, it's a cat game. People like it because cats. I don't even like cats very much. And I'm allergic. I'm not a huge fan. I can't even touch them. So
3 people on this podcast are allergic to cats.
Anti-cat. That's why we're like, should it be there?
That's right. The bias has been exposed.
Yeah, anti-cat bias. But even though I have that stance of like not being overly fond of cats, frankly being afraid of them, I did like really think it was sweet and endearing in the way that like some of the gameplay or puzzle solving like ties into cat mechanics. I thought was very cute and sweet, and yeah, I loved the ending. But, it's really limited. The platforming is extremely limited. It's all very linear. I think there was some of those combat segments where really all you're doing is shooting something and then running away and shooting something and running away. It was like not a super satisfying mechanic for the combat in that game. So it's like a game that I would recommend. I think people should play it and I really like it. But yeah, it's not one that I'm going to die on a hill for ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one that like if somebody did tell me it was their game of the year, I'd be like, cool, good for you. Like definitely like it can hit with some people. I think they did a really good job of like capturing, especially too with like the internet. Like it's got this very like cozy, like it's like the lo-fi game feel. And I think like from the direction, the art, like they totally nail it. It just didn't like hit me as hard as I was hoping. Cat should have had like a gun also, but like
cat
I know you
should
look
have
or,
a gun.
or at least a vacuum cleaner.
At least
one-
rollerblades.
yeah, but it was cool. It was fine, you know.
Yeah. It's one. It's a bummer. I wish that one of us had a different opinion on it, but it's like a game that's like it's a good game.
But again, I'm not even in the chat. I'm not sure if there's anyone in the chat that's like, actually, Stray is my game of the year 100%. I've never heard
Please speak
that
up
from anyone.
if you would die for Stray.
In my comment section, in anything, no one said Stray is my game of the year. So again, I'm sure everyone likes this game, but it's like, is it the best game?
Yeah.
Is it the top 6 best games?
Yeah. And
Someone-
then there's like Vampire Survivors, which doesn't get a look in for game of the year, and that is a tragedy, right?
I do
there.
think that
It's
is
like,
a game of the year.
come on
game,
now.
100%. It's just that wasn't played enough. Someone in my chat
there's-
said replace the cat with any other animal and you get a very okayish game. I don't agree with that because
No, I
I
don't
do.
agree with
Again,
that
I think Stray is good beyond cat game. I really do think that. Well, okay.
There's like a-
Tam just said I would die for Stray.
Is Tam here?
Damn it! But then
So
he said
he's just saying
no.
that,
But then he
though.
said to be replaced with Vampire Survivors.
Okay, good. There we go.
Son of a
Classic
bitch.
Tam right
Cheating.
there.
Son of a
Tam
bitch.
moment.
Classic Tam.
Vampire Survivors, of all the games on this list, Vampire Survivors is the one that I keep consistently coming back to throughout the whole year. You know what I mean? Like God of War, I'm done with it, and I'll revisit it in a year or two maybe. Elden Ring, I've been done with it for a while. Vampire Survivors, I'm just back in it every once in a while. Every week, I'm playing it at least.
To be
once
fair,
a
that
week,
is a
if not
design
more.
thing. Like you can go back to
True.
it. But I agree. I think the games that like this year that I've been annoyed with myself for wanting to play as often as I have are Mini Motorways, which is a whole other thing.
Sure.
Vampire Survivor and Power Wash Simulator. It's those games that I'm like, I just keep wanting to play it. I would
Yes.
like to do something else. I just keep
way-
wanting to play them.
The way I described Vampire Survivors before and like a video I made was it's like that dopamine hit you get from loot boxes, but like concentrated into a video game and then remove the predatory monetization stuff. Just like that feeling of like anticipation that you get from like all the visual effects and the sound effects of like, and you're getting all these upgrades and like you're getting so much like stimuli from the game and everything going on around you. And it's just like, it gets you in this like really addictive kind of mood.
So, since it's slightly less popular, as we've acknowledged, do you want to explain what it is? Like, what kind of game is it?
Good luck with that.
Man, it is. It's almost like, I don't want to say it's a self-playing game. Like the only input you need to worry about is the analog stick. That's it. And then occasionally selecting an upgrade. But once you select an upgrade, you're just moving around with the analog stick. It's like a horde shooter.
It's
where
roguelite.
Like a passive one.
Roguelite.
Yeah, it's a passive kind of horde shooter where your goal is to, for the most part, avoid enemies so that you can, as the character's automatically shooting at stuff as you're avoiding them, you eventually start leveling up. And then you slowly start building upgrades and you create like builds essentially based on the different combination of items that you acquire. Kind of like Binding of Isaac, if you will.
Yeah.
But like a little more sort of focused. It's not as many items as that. But yeah, once you find the right combination of items that then like, upgrade themselves based on which other items you have with you, it's like, it gets crazy. Just the projectiles that you start like outputting. And eventually, the hordes get bigger and bigger over time, but your capabilities to get rid of those hordes of enemies gets better and better. And it's like that loop of like just becoming more of like an army killer as you progress through a level.
It's like Dynasty Warriors.
You become the bullet hell,
a bit like
basically.
Muso-esque in
you're
a way.
just like slaughtering.
Yeah, like a passive Muso, if you will, where you're just moving around and letting the game do its thing. You're just like, I don't know. Yeah, it sounds almost like
It is hard to sell, I think.
it is.
Totally.
And yet,
Yeah.
like once you play it and once it clicks, like people get it. And like I've seen on social media, especially like in the past month or so.
I think it's Game
Some people-
Pass.
Yeah.
Because it
yeah,
came out
yeah.
on Game Pass maybe a few weeks ago. It seems like it's
That's
kind of-
right. That's what it
You
was.
dodged
Yeah.
that nasty $3 price tag. Thank you, Game Pass. Saving me a mint.
One thing I'll add in terms of the like dopamine hit you were talking
Yeah.
about is that the way I can kind of describe it is like the thrill of like if you're playing a racing game and you just in the nick of time squeak between two other cars.
Yeah.
What if it was just that feeling constantly, just
Yeah,
endlessly?
yeah,
You're
yeah.
always like, like
yeah.
it's just it's good for that. And I see people in the chat and people have brought it up where there are other games of this subgenre that are better, but my only counterpoint to that is that I haven't played those, but also, I mean, like this it's not just that it has this style of gameplay that's addictive. I also love that it is like this like weird, awkward celebration of like old Castlevania style games, from the character sprites to the looks of it, the environments, to the abilities, to the music,
The music
and the
is
sound
so,
effects.
Yeah.
They're so
Yeah.
good.
Totally.
Yeah,
and I think one of the sorry, you go, Lana.
No, go ahead.
To say one of the unsung heroes of it, I think, is its achievement system as well. Like, it's like it's what do you call it? I don't even, they're not achievements. They're what are they called in the game?
Challenge?
Unlocks or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, you are able to go, okay, cool, I'm gonna play some Vampire Survivors, and you can kind of set some goals for yourself really easily because it's got this big list of achievements or things you need to unlock. And so, yeah, you'd be like, I'm gonna play with this character. And I'm going to play for 20 minutes and I'm going to find this thing on this map. And you're like, cool. And yeah, there's so many of those that you can just always find an excuse to go back. So while it is really mindless, you can also spend a good 40, 50 hours just clearing through that whole log of things and be like, cool, I've achieved something here. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of the best implementations of achievements that I've seen in a game, because usually I don't give shit about achievements. But here I actually do. And I found they've guided my desire, or they prompted my desire to reconnect with it when I haven't played it for a few days. You know, they really nailed it.
I think it is sort of to what Jake was saying about the Forza near misses. You know, it's I would love to talk to apparently one person who started making it about the design, because I agree that it is self-motivated, but it's also like that constant feeling of wanting to discover the next thing, or like for the next horde to come or whatever, like is also what you're saying, Ralph, is like that. It's basically perfect at that exact thing.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that was an accident or like incredible fine tuning.
I feel like nothing in this game is accidental.
It's so compelling, like constantly.
The person knows what they're doing.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to stop playing.
And
And the way like stages unlock, and then you get some really weird stages down the line that, like, you know, I don't know, the way everything progresses, it just keeps you going like, whoa, what's next?
It feels
What's
different
like...
every time. Again, since the discovery, it turns out we really like that in video games. Like,
yeah
that's Minecraft. Really took off. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely throw Vampire Survivor in my top 5. Cult of the Lamb is also in my top 5. I think I fucking loved that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's up there for me.
Game.
It's incredible.
Great game.
Well, do you want to talk about it? Let's talk about that. Cult of the Lamb.
Yes.
Poop.
Cult
Eat
of the Lamb.
Poop. Eat it. Eat the poop.
It's also like a really funny game. It has a nice personality, a nice sense of humor, but it's basically, for anyone who hasn't played it, Animal Crossing with a cult resource management sim, but also at night you go fight demons.
Yeah, like a roguelite.
Roguelite Animal Crossing.
Yes.
But evil.
Yes.
And
very evil.
I think that might have been one of the best performing games I played all year. I did not have a single performance issue whatsoever at any point. Didn't encounter a single bug, and it's so stylish and so purposeful in everything that it has. Like I just
did you see the comparison of like when they started out dev versus when it was finalized?
Oh yeah, I love
really
seeing stuff
great
like
glow up between those two frames. But it looked really good at the beginning. Like they could have shipped that game, it still would have looked pretty rad.
Yeah.
But the amount of extra work they put into those visuals to make it really pop was just
that one of the ones that got shared because of the GTA leak?
Yeah. Because like everyone knows graphics are finished first. Of course. I
still wonder if that guy was trolling. That we all just went
it's
for. It's
hard to tell.
He won.
He won.
If
he was, good job, Mike, my dude. That was excellent trolling. We were all like, how dare you? Really, though, graphics do not come first. It doesn't make any sense. They come last. Thank you. Yeah, Cult of the Lamb, I think, is also, I loved the soundtrack. And that's good. One of the ones of this year that I'm listening to on Spotify regularly. It's so good and so tonally perfect for that game in terms of capturing the both sinister and very cute style. And I can't even imagine how hard that would have been.
Wasn't it just some Radelaide band that they were listening to one day and they were like, hey, we really like it. Did you guys hear this story?
Well, I know the guy who did it. Okay, let me find out what his name is. I'm not sure if it's a full band or an individual.
Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought it was a story where like they heard this music live from someone, a band or an individual.
It's Riverboy.
And they were like, Say again?
River Boy is the name of the
Oh, right.
composer.
And they were like, hey, do you want to make music for our game? We really like, and they're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then that was it, just from a live gig. And that's how the soundtrack got its start,
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think it was in Adelaide. Adelaide sticks out of my head.
Well,
for
he's
some
based
reason.
in Melbourne, so
Okay,
he is
could have been
Australian.
traveling for.
Yeah, I mean, that
yeah,
sounds
sure.
about right.
That team.
The game
there you go.
wasn't made in Australia, was it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's an Aussie game.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, the team is Australian. They're in
Game of the
Melbourne in
Year.
that little. Yeah, that's right, absolutely,
Hey.
of course. They're from Melbourne, though. Fuck
Bias.
Melbourne.
No.
There's in Melbourne. There's actually this little.
Surprised they had time to make a game in between tweeting about coffee. Am I right? That's an Australian
Good
joke for
one.
you.
Yeah, that's right.
No one else
That
gets
was
that. It's
straight
fine.
out of the pages of the Herald Sun. That one. So basically, there's like this little indie hub in Melbourne. It's like the one place. Actually, I think Brisbane's actually doing a bit of it now. But in Australia, there's like this really great indie scene, and a lot of the developers are actually in this one building in Melbourne.
Super cool.
And,
That I think is free.
yeah.
I think you can use it, parts of it for free.
I'm not sure. No idea. That
you
would
can.
make sense. I guess it has that kind of vibe, this commune vibe thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff coming out of those teams, and that was one of them.
Yeah. Another Australian shout out I want to give this year that I think would also be probably a less popular game is Wayward Strand, made by an Australian team, I think in Sydney, actually. And it's probably 5-6 hours, and it's there's basically an airship, and it's effectively a hospital for old people. And your whole thing is your mum has invited you to go to this airship for work experience, and you go there and you just talk to people. And the whole purpose of it is very much like Sleep No More. It's a play, or sort of like a dollhouse,
Okay.
more than like a general gaming experience where the narrative every single character will continue to move regardless of what you do. And I know that a lot of games try to do that, but it's very intimidating to even think about. And they actually nailed it perfectly, where you're just there, you talk to whoever you want at any given time, someone will be in their room, someone's having lunch, you just go anywhere, any point in time, things will move beyond you. And it's about getting to know these people, why they're there, what their lives were like. And it really resonated with me strongly, because I think the message, which is, again, not a very common one for video games, is very much about how we talk to the elderly, how often they're dismissed, or how often we don't really sit there and just talk to our like, I don't know what my grandma's childhood was like. I've never asked her.
I don't talk to old people.
No. And it's a weird message to go for, but it was one that I found
cool.
really sweet, of like, okay, when I see my grandma over Christmas, I am going to stop being annoyed by the fact that she asks me the same questions 5 minutes apart. That's fine. And just start actually like engaging with her a little bit differently. Which, again, very unique premise for a game, but it was something that I found really sweet. And again, they do something that I think a lot of games wish that they could do, but it's basically impossible in terms of scope. And I think it took them about 6 years, which is actually having the narrative play out constantly at all times, and you get to choose where to go. So it's like a play, but you get to choose what room you're in, and things will happen regardless of where you are. So you could miss whole story beats, you can pursue one thing or another thing. And yeah, I really liked it. Shout out to Australia. You make good video games. I'm proud of it.
Sometimes
Most
they
of the
nail
time.
it.
Most of the time. Yeah,
Yes.
well, no, that's broad. I'm sure there are plenty of Australian games, to be honest. But
I'm
most.
sure.
The next on the list is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Did any of you play Xenoblade Chronicles 3?
I wish I had time.
I didn't finish it. I started it. I didn't finish it. Not because I didn't enjoy it. I didn't have
It's
the
a
time.
lot. I also haven't
It's
finished it.
It's a long ass game.
It's
20
a
hours.
long ass game that I think is like, if you're not bought into that franchise, it's intimidating, which is why I'm really, really glad that it's there. I didn't expect it to get nominated, because I was like, I feel like there's no way. There's no way it's just that franchise is not that approachable, I don't think. But I think this one specifically, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's approachable. It's just the time is intimidating. I think as a franchise, there's nothing to stop you from picking up a Xenoblade game and immediately enjoying it. But yeah, it's that kind of like, oh, do you have 120 hours free? No? Okay, probably not for you then. That's that kind of like Persona,
Yeah.
Same sort of thing where you have to have that be committed,
Yeah.
I think it's also, I think it's the best in the series, in my opinion. I'm sure there are some hardcore Xenoblade fans who would be mad at me for some reason.
X baby.
The internet. It is what it is. But I really love the updates to the combat, where you can basically like interlink I thought that was a really, really smart. It was also it's a really impressive looking game. It's very funny when you compare it to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You're like, but Xenoblade though.
Yeah, I've seen some folks say, "Oh man, I guess the Switch is just like it can't handle this game." It's like, no, I just think the game wasn't as
it's not optimized,
well constructed, or as well optimized. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Switch handle. I mean, Breath of the Wild, pretty damn well.
That still had frame rate drops. I think the Switch, like, I'm not going to discount the Switch from those conversations, and that yes, that the hardware makes it more challenging. It's limiting.
Yeah,
but I also think that like with Game Freak, who make Pokemon, it's that they're making multiple games a year. It's a team of about 150.
Yeah. And
their engine's clearly just outdated.
They just don't have the time. Like they're on such a regimented schedule because, it has to line up with the anime. And it's like,
I feel like I maybe blame Nintendo a little bit more than the general consensus for that. Like could they have more time? It's like a
treadmill that you can't stop. You know what I mean? You have to keep running no matter how many times you trip over. It's just like, you gotta
make them all.
Gotta make them all, yeah.
It can't
on
end.
Time. Yeah.
I mean, they definitely, again.
They have endless money. They can hire more people. I'm not saying it's just you hire more bodies, but what I'm saying is this is a franchise with a lot of trajectory. It's not like all of a sudden
the highest grossing franchise of all time.
You could have 4 or 5 years ago identified that there was a need for this studio to scale up its resource base so it could produce good stuff, and it hasn't done that.
So that's my logic, is that I feel like maybe there's somebody not letting them. Like it doesn't make sense.
I just think
otherwise.
they don't. I just don't think they need to. Like literally, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Not Sword and Shield. Sorry. Yeah, Sword and Shield was like not good, and it was still the highest selling game of the year. This one runs like ass, and it already is the highest selling game of the year, even though it's only been out for like a week.
It's the highest selling Nintendo game of the year.
No, I think it's the highest selling game of the year. Like full stop. Like
really
in some territory. I remember reading a headline that's kind of like already it's in the UK or something, the highest selling game of the year.
What?
Even though it's been out for something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me on it. The point is, if it's not that this week, it's going to be that next week or the year after. That is Pokemon. That's how it works.
Like more than Call of Duty?
I guess that's what the headline that I saw.
And FIFA and like all that.
Yeah, that's. Don't quote me. Look, it's possible.
He says, yeah.
Yeah, in the UK right now, says Jeff McRae. I definitely saw this headline. I'm not making this shit up, right? But like I said, if it's not that, it's going to be something else. It's just, yeah, man. Pokemon is out of control. Like it is the biggest, most lucrative IP in history. So we shouldn't be surprised by that result. Also, because they sell 2 copies of their games instead of just one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Which is a massive scam that they just keep rolling with because they know they can get away with
Often
it.
to the same person. Yeah. Like people will just buy 2 copies. That is true.
I just don't have any like all this like Game Freak, they're so overworked, and I'm like, no, I don't.
I'm not saying that.
I know you're not. I know you're not saying that, but I see it on Twitter. I'm saying like, please cut Game Freak some slack, whatever else. I'm like, well, obviously, I'm the developers. Sure, I'd like them. I don't want them to overwork themselves. I want them to lead good, happy lives. But I think it's fine if the billions of dollars that this franchise generates can also be directed to hiring some more people.
100%.
So that your game doesn't look like this.
There has to just be a reason they can't. It's a mystery that doesn't make sense. I guess it could just be they have the money. What do they fucking need to do? Change
it might just be complacency. I mean, you look at FIFA. It's just like they don't need to update those games that much, and they still sell gangbusters every single year. You know,
capitalism. It's capitalism.
You're onto something.
Let's go.
Classic capitalism.
It might be capitalism. But it is really funny to see Xenoblade screenshots next to Pokemon screenshots, and Xenoblade's a game that when I was playing, I was screenshotting because I was like, damn, look at that vista. The art's beautiful. I love it. Pokemon, I'm like, God, it's hideous.
All the time, yeah.
It has huge vistas too.
Yeah.
Something about those games, like I feel like it's like part of their DNA. It's like there always has to be a really cool field with like a big, massive thing in the background that gives you this crazy sense of scale. It's been like this cool staple of the series that I really like.
It's beautiful, yeah. So very, very happy to see it there. Oh
soundtrack's always incredible.
Also good. I can't really floor it. Again, I haven't finished it either. I don't imagine I will, to be honest. It's one of those things that it's like you said, the time is too long, but I still would recommend it. I think it's really good and that it deserves to be there. And I was just really happy to see it there. Is it going to win? Absolutely not. There's no way.
Yeah. But I think Xenoblade
Nintendo game of the year.
To know. Sure.
I'd give it that.
Yes. What about Kirby? What about you? You're shortchanging Kirby there.
Fuck, I did love Kirby.
See? There you go. Yeah. Well, I think most Nintendo fans would probably say Kirby. Everyone loved that one.
I keep forgetting that.
Nintendo's definitely going to win Family Game of the Year. They got 4 out of the 5.
Oh, did they? What are they?
That's where they all get done.
Mario King. Kirby, Mario plus Rabbids.
Spark of Hope. Is that what it's
It's a
called?
Ubisoft game, by the
Yeah,
way.
Yeah, Ubisoft
Mhm.
game technically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think Lego Star Wars was one of them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo Switch Sports. Yeah, and Splatoon 3.
Okay, yeah. All of those make sense.
Yeah. Splatoon 3, a lot of fun.
I wonder if the games industry family actually just means Nintendo.
Yeah, straight up. I mean,
Yeah.
Do they just go,
It all
is it
gets
on
dumped
mobile
there.
or on Switch? Family. Okay, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah.
It works. All right. So, are there any other like massive games that we would have liked to have seen nominated for Game of the Year? I mean, I really liked Pentiment, but I've
me
not
too.
played enough of it to say. I don't even know if it is. It probably missed the cutoff for voting. Maybe. Not sure.
The review embargo was before or after, but either way it would have, because the voting was concluded before the reviews were done. So yeah, I
Yeah.
guess it must have missed the deadline for sure.
But
Sure.
it's also like the recency bias of it is like I might not feel that way in 6 months, but right now, have you guys played Pentiment?
Only
I have
the
not
opening bit.
opportunity.
Yeah,
I know Jake
good
has.
shit. Great
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, that's right. You
Absolutely love
finished it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
probably
so,
going to be in my tops
Wow.
somewhere.
it's just so smart. Like it just feels so smart. It's
Well, we interviewed Josh Sawyer, the game director, and he's so smart, like
Yeah.
intimidatingly intelligent.
smart.
So you're like, no
Yeah.
wonder you feel that way, because we were just like, wow, this dude knows things
I'm
about
talking to him tomorrow.
history. And you are right.
Yeah.
So there you go. Right, you'll be prepared to be overawed and intimidated by intelligence. That's what's going to happen, man.
Can't wait. I look forward to it.
Also,
Yeah.
you just needed something different, and it's different. And I was like, ooh, this is just right. This is what I wanted right now.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
Pretty much everything. So like, I'm an art history kid, so I like the style. I like the influences. I like an unconventional story in this weird setting that you wouldn't expect to see in a game. But I really like the educational stuff. And like, I'm never about that. I'm usually always like, oh, boring. But it has that clever feature of the text boxes, or when you're talking to people, certain dialogue, certain words are underlined. And if you hit the select button, the game will pan out of like the panel in the book, and you'll see the whole page of the book, and in the margins it'll tell you what they're talking about. Like, oh, they reference the Reformation. This is the Reformation. Oh, they reference Martin Luther. This is Martin Luther. Like, that's really smart stuff because it's accessible. It just gives you just enough to know what's going on and go, oh, okay, cool, all right, good, and I'm back in instant, and it like in and out. But then they also do it with characters. Because a lot of the characters, it's like, oh, brother this, sister that, because it's all faith-based. So the book will pan out, and it'll just give you a person's face, and it'll be like, oh, okay. Like when you click on, you're like, who's Sister Mary again? And it pans out, and it's like, oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
very dense. Like you do need
So
to
it's
do
dense,
that.
but it does do a good job of really keeping you with it. And
Yeah.
I also just like the story stuff. Like the dialogue choices feel pretty meaningful, pretty significant. It still feels like it has that Obsidian DNA with the different character paths and it affecting what you can say in conversations, and also the importance of like what you don't say. And then the fact that it just dumps on so much. Like it wants to tackle art history, how writing and art was produced at the time, the state of the churches, the socioeconomic things with the church, peasant rebellions, being a douchebag. Like your character, like if you make certain choices, you feel like you come into town and you feel like this kind of douchebag. Like it but it's all like human. It's not like a turn off. Like it's not very like dense and like, oh, fancy dancy writing. Like it's a real ass story where like you can feel for these characters even though it was the 1500s.
Yeah.
And I think that's what clicked with me the most. Sorry I talk so much. I just really like this one.
No, you're
like,
encouraged to.
I haven't played it, but like, I've like watched some portions of it, and it really does feel like a labor of love. Where like they knew this is not going to be the game to outsell all games. Like this is a very niche feeling game, but it's like they poured everything they have into it just because they love making this thing and they love the subject surrounding it. And so I'm excited to like actually just dive in and just like spend. How long does it take to beat? Do you know roughly? Do you know?
I have it written down. I think it was like 12, 13.
Oh, okay. So
13,
like
I think like
weekend,
13 hours.
Gotcha.
I think I've seen some people do 15.
Gotcha.
It's a good like cozy game. It's kind of like a little storybook game.
Yeah.
You know, like play it on your Steam Deck and just kind of like do a little bit of it.
Yeah, I love like
it's
visual
really
novels
chill
and stuff. So
really lo-fi.
history was my like least favorite subject in high school, and I think that's why like I was a little less inclined to lean into something so historically based. But I like it does seem to have a lot of like heart and humanity
it's also
to it,
the way that they teach you the history is so fleshed out that it doesn't feel like a lesson. It really feels like the lore of the world.
Awesome.
You can almost forget that it's real.
Gotcha. I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
the
it was
focus
the way
is like a murder mystery. It's like a character. It's like a people story and kind of like a weird murder mystery. So
and the history just like adds context to everything, and that sounds awesome. Because I think it was the way I was taught history that made me just like go, ugh, please, no more.
That'll do
sure.
it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Pentiment won't do that. Yeah, and it's a period of history that I didn't know very much about. And I had been calling people characters even though they're real people. I think it's just really well crafted, really, really well directed, and I believe it was only a team of 13, which, like, as somebody just mentioned in chat, with Pentiment and Grounded, both of which I love. Hell of a year for Obsidian.
Yeah, for sure.
Grounded.
And they're still working on what? They're still working on Avowed and Outer Worlds 2.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's one other game that they haven't announced.
Right. Okay. There you go. Crazy.
Juggling a bunch of stuff, but like they've been on point.
They're one of my favorite studios right now. I love them, and I think like the difference between something like Outer Worlds, Pentiment, Avowed, and Grounded is so enormous. And the fact that they said that Pentiment really could only exist because of Game Pass.
Yeah.
But I also know that, like, when I spoke to Josh for the previews during Gamescom, he was saying that he hoped that it would be a game that gamers didn't play, that like your parents could play. That anybody could pick up and play. And I hope that happens for it too, because while you say it is niche, it's also, like, by virtue of how niche it is, almost mainstream accessible.
Yeah.
It goes
like,
full
it's
circle.
gamer niche, you know what I mean?
Gamer niche, for sure, yeah.
But it has the potential to, like, Nintendogs is not necessarily the gamer's game, you know what I mean? But it's like, it reached a bunch of people who otherwise wouldn't have played, bought a DS or whatever, right?
Wii Sports, Clash of Kings, Sports. What even is that?
My parents don't play video games. The only time we've ever played video games together is Wii Sports. You can say anything you want about the Wii, but that's an accomplishment. To get my parents to get to play video games is insane.
Yeah, my mom was on Wii Fit and all that. Got her into Mario.
And the Olivia Newton-John commercial. That's why.
Exactly. That's how you get the Aussies.
That'll
GameStop and all EB Games in Australia, and every fucking 10 minutes, like someone's mum would walk in and be like, "I saw this commercial with Olivia Newton-John. Do you have that thing?" I'm like, "Yes, here it is." There you go.
Yeah, you definitely served my mum.
When I got my OLED and I set it up and I put Spider-Man PS4 on it and I just handed it to my mom, like, go for a swing, and it like destroyed my mom's brain.
Yeah,
it was like showing someone from the 1200s like Transformers on an iPad. Like, it just completely. She was like, "What is this?"
That's super cool. Was she able to play it?
A little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely a cool one to give someone for sure. So next is Best Game Direction, which we don't need to talk about a ton because the nominees are very similar, but I did want to mention Immortality. Have any of you played that?
No, actually,
Sadly
not
not.
heard of it.
Okay.
I'm very bummed.
So people love the games that they make, like Her Story, which I also love. I really couldn't get into Immortality, and it's a bummer because I had like people all over my Twitter feed saying how much they loved it, and there was something about the way that the actual gameplay worked that I just didn't like. I tried it 3 separate times. And though it's basically like you have this film reel and you watch a scene that is live action, and you can pause and select something in the scene that might be like a thing of interest, like a glass, and then you hit the glass and that will take you to another scene, but the scenes aren't linked. The only link would be that object. So it's not a story that plays out in a linear way. And what you're trying to do in terms of gameplay is effectively click on things in scenes to unlock the full film, effectively. But it all plays out of order. And I just didn't find that, I don't know, compelling. But I know that I feel like I'm an outlier. Like, it got 10s, and I...
Oh, wow.
You're not the only person I've heard say that, though. I mean,
oh, really?
I've definitely heard some people who are even fans of Sam Barlow's work. Are like,
I am a huge fan.
Wasn't click. Yeah, I haven't played it yet. I'm really keen to. Because I really love what he does. But I've definitely heard some of the people say that just hasn't really clicked for them, or that, like, also that the idea is a bit played out in the sense that the way he does exposition and gameplay is quite similar. That kind of like out of order storytelling where you just need to follow the breadcrumbs. You tug on something and you're like, oh, that leads to the next thing, and then that leads to the next thing, and then you could actually accidentally find the end of the game in the first like 20 minutes if you happen to click on the wrong or the right thing, depending on how you look at it. But yeah,
I think
so
the thing for me with Immortality though is like his previous games, I felt like I was solving a puzzle. And in Immortality, I felt like I was randomly clicking shit. It didn't feel like I was digging into a mystery. I felt like I was just clicking stuff. So, yeah, it just didn't have the same effect on me, unfortunately. Someone here did just say, Telling Lies is another one, which is really awesome. Oh,
Yes.
It's Banjo, but he'll take Taco.
what's up, Banjo?
Hey, buddy. Hi. What's your game of the year? Was it Stray? Did you like Stray?
It's not Stray.
Definitely not. Somebody in the chat did say there's a turning point in Immortality that changes. It's a big twist that changes the game. So whatever that is, I didn't get far enough to see whatever that is. So I can't comment on that. Yeah, I wish one of you had played it so that I could have someone who likes it, because I
have that problem where like a game title will throw me off. Like I heard Immortality a couple times and I was like, fuck yeah, it's probably the sick awesome game, like Immortality awesome, and then I found out what it is and I was like,
soundtrack.
Okay. Yeah, Immortality's I don't actually know why they chose that. I imagine it justifies itself at some point, but it's got some like biblical themes going on in some of the film stuff. So yeah, another one that it's like seems like a good game, just wasn't for me. It happens.
It does.
Yeah, and best direction though, I feel like there's no way that doesn't deserve to be there. That's a really specific one. Okay, moving on. We have narrative. So the big hot topic there is obviously, so the games for narrative are Playtail, Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Immortality, and Forbidden West, which I think all makes sense. But yeah, how do you guys feel about the Elden Ring inclusion? It's been a hot one.
I think it makes totals like a narrative, in video games. What I love about video games is that narrative has so many interesting avenues through the interactive nature of video games. You can do things in video games that you can't do in other mediums. And it's like with Elden Ring, the gameplay itself can be its own story. But beyond that, so much of the story is told through like the things you encounter through gameplay. And then you dig deeper and, to the item descriptions or wherever, you pay attention to dialogue and can like piece it together. And there is a story there. It's just, you got to like really interact with the game to fully flesh it out. And it's unconventional maybe, but doesn't mean it's not narrative, So, and like Elden Ring, when you really look at it in its totality, there's a lot there. I mean, they put a lot of thought into the lore, I feel. I think Bloodborne's still, my favorite narrative in terms of the Souls.
Me too,
Soulsborne games, yeah. But Elden Ring's no, slouch on that front, just because you have to like dig for it a little more,
I think it can also be like even deeper than that. Like, I don't know where I stand on how I feel about Dark Souls. I know that I observe people talking about Dark Souls and Elden Ring and being like, no, the narrative there, but I don't know that I just don't know what my opinion is, and I feel that way sometimes. Sure. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. But the narrative of Elden Ring is also one that is self-created in a Minecrafty way, in that like I still felt like there was a narrative that's built up of me finding this castle and being like, who the fuck lives here? And it's not even about reading lore or item descriptions. It's about like looking at these hallways and seeing the funnels and what NPCs are there. Just the picture that's built of that journey every step of the way, I think is a narrative in a way that's just not traditional storytelling. Like, again, even outside of the lore, I literally just mean like exploring. You build your own narrative with these weird bosses you're fighting, kind of.
I mean, I share stories with friends about our experiences with Elden Ring. Like, we had these two journeys in the same world. You know what I mean? Like, we each have our stories to tell about how we overcame these challenges or in what order things happened and what we discovered along the way. And, things that I discovered that helped a friend figure out something that he didn't know about. And then when he told us about his experience, I'm like, oh, so that's what that's for. And then like we had this communal kind of thing going on.
Fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
I love like that. Again, that's why I say sequel to Breath of the Wild. Like that, like, have you been here yet? It's such a cool thing only video games can ever do. You can't do that with a book or a movie. It's so fucking cool.
I think that's why like the
go to the crater. Go to Ragnarok. Go to the crater.
I think that's why the Elden Ring sort of discourse on social media lasted for that long. It was people sharing just like experiences or trying to like nudge people in certain directions or just like discovering things and putting that out there to the world and blowing people away, and then them going in and discovering more things, and it was just snowball effect of like communal narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's I think what I'm saying, which is probably like the most pretentious bullshit ever, is I think discovery can be narrative.
Yeah, sure.
In a way. Jake, where do you land on the Elden Ring narrative debate?
I think like for me, I was able to get a grip on this world and like the setup of it and what was roughly going on more easily than some other From Software games. So like I give it points for that. Ultimately, I do fall on the like narrative and story and game, like whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
Like if you felt a story, then good. Like that's, to repeat myself from the Friends Per Second podcast, like I don't like the stakes aren't that high. I don't care. Yeah. Like did you get a story out of that? Cool. You win. That's it.
Yeah. Like what you like across the board. Ralph, how about you?
No, I'm basically the same. I mean, personally though, I do think, yes, it has a story. Of course it does. No one's saying it doesn't. But when you look at like best narrative, I think there's something in drama. There's something in tension. There's something in plot twists. Like those are specific narrative techniques and disciplines. And I think that they deserve to be celebrated. And I think, Elden Ring obviously is magnificent in its world building, and it has this narrative that bubbles up through that. But I think it is absent those more obvious narrative techniques that I think
something like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War Ragnarok or Playtail Requiem, I don't know about Immortality, can make you cry, right? I don't really think Elden Ring is going to do that.
Well, VaatiVidya's whole like Dark Souls lore series is called Prepare to Cry. So
is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like it has all those sad stories, but again, you have to have someone excavate that stuff and give it to you.
Yeah, it's not going to make you cry while you're playing it.
No, but there is such a thing as I said, a way a scene plays out, a way a story is told with its beats and its highs and lows and its tension and whatever. That is, I think, narrative as well. And I think that when we talk about best narrative, I mean, I would look to something that really nails that, as well as the world building stuff, maybe. I don't know. But so I think there's a huge amount to celebrate in Elden Ring. I definitely think it has a narrative for sure. It's a great one. But do I look at it as like the best narrative of the year? Personally not, because I look for those other things as well, and it just doesn't have those.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, for me, Elden Ring, the discovery of the narrative, just like, I don't know, it just made me feel things that other games didn't provide for me in a way that it didn't make me cry, but there was a sense of wonder of me chasing after the narrative that I think was really unique. And it's like, that's something I think, again, very specific to video games. And it's such a, again, like non-traditional way of experiencing a narrative in terms of how people usually think of what a story is, that, I can see the conversation going either way, but for me, it's like that uniqueness, given this is the Game Awards, and it's like
nice when video games be video
do.
Games. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it makes sense that it's here. I still personally, I will give it to God of War.
So would I.
Yeah, without question. But
no bias
I don't
whatsoever.
Think no bias.
Same, bias. Yeah. But Elden Ring, I don't think it like doesn't deserve a place here or anything. I get why some people might have been like, I given it to Elden Ring too, in their own way, but
I think I'm happy to see it have a place there because it is different from the others, and the storytelling is different, and it is still powerful. I'd be very surprised if it won. I think that would be a bit off.
Marvel Snap for best narrative.
Okay, what is Marvel Snap, and why is everybody talking about it so much?
Marvel Hearthstone. Yeah,
Marvel Hearthstone.
How did it take off as hard as it did?
I don't know. Someone told me to play it, and I did, and I'm an idiot.
When we all saw it during the Disney showcase, everyone was like, "Oh, garbage," and now everyone's like, "This is sick." Like, what happened? It's so weird.
I saw the Uncle Ben card where it's like, if you play this card, if this card is destroyed, summon Spider-Man. I'm like, shit.
Is that real? Is it real?
I hope that's real. That needs to be real.
I think it's real. Yeah. A friend told me it's real, so I think
you're right.
Real.
Amazing. Best art direction is next, and that's one again we haven't spoken about, is Scorn.
Yeah.
How did everybody feel about Scorn? I think that's maybe a more contentious one.
It deserves a spot on the list, definitely.
For art direction, 100%. But in general, I guess, Ralph, you want to go first? How do you feel about Scorn?
Love Scorn. Understanding full well that most people will hate Scorn. It's.
Do you think most people hate it?
Okay, hate's a strong word, but I think most people don't like it. I think certainly from a lot of the people that I spoke to were just like, nah, man, I just bounced straight off this. This wasn't for me. I found this too annoying. There's not enough here. They're like, it's only a few hours long. It's confusing. Its level design is bad.
Level
There's
design
no.
is a bit bad.
Well, I don't agree with that personally. I actually
It's a
think
bit bad.
it's no. Actually, I
I
wouldn't.
like
I would
it.
push back
Okay.
on that.
Push back.
I would say that I think it's purposefully trying to be unclear and a bit obtuse, and that's in its puzzles, but also, and I guess the main way its puzzles become obtuse is because of its level design. It's meant to be disorienting, and I think it achieves that. If it would just had these really obvious like 3-lane levels or whatever, that's an exaggeration, but if the level design was really simple, I think some of the impact of the game would be lost. Interestingly enough, I look at
disagree
Darktide, which
with
I'm
that.
playing. I would say Darktide, which I'm playing right now. I'm not sure if you've poked around those levels, but it has a really fascinating level design approach where it can be quite confusing at times, and you really like, which way do I
it's a
fucking
whole
go?
maze. Yeah.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I think it's you go, God, do I go that way or that? I don't know. And it's like there's just lots of empty dead ends. And you would otherwise streamline those because you want your player to go from A to B efficiently. But the fact that there are dead ends and the fact that it is confusing adds to it. And I think Scorn's doing the same
For
thing.
Darktide, I actually agree because I also think it suits the world very well. My thing with Scorn, where I would argue with that, is like I think the problem is that some of the puzzles you can't solve because you forgot that a room that you went to an hour ago was still there. I mean, it's never an hour, but you can literally forget that a room is there. And I don't think that's smart level design. I think that's sort of letting the player down. It's like, okay, there's so many tunnels and ways to go. And if I forget that this one is here because I just completely forgot that elevator was there or whatever, because it's not reminding me of that, I think that the lack of intuition there is a letdown. Where it works, I do agree with you that it works really well, that you should be in this alien ship and you should feel very foreign and you should be like, hang on, I'm getting all topsy-turvy. That works. It's just the fact that sometimes you can be like, wait, that thing? Oh my God, I fucking forgot that even existed, which happened to me like 4 times. Is the one time I had to contact you and be like, dude, I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. No, 2 other times that I had the same thing. I was like, I've been trying for so long. Where the fuck am I supposed to go?
Yeah, and to be fair, actually, it's so difficult to explain it that I actually couldn't tell you where to go, and I sent you my gameplay footage, and I'm just like, here's what I recorded. Find where you are and go and reverse engineer it from that.
And then when I saw it, I was like, are you serious? Like, I had been walking around for 45 minutes and was like, that's not a puzzle. That's me forgetting a fucking room is there. Like, it just, I do think you're right, and it deserves the credit for a lot of it, but I think that some of those puzzles, the fact that you can't solve a puzzle because
I think you could take the edge off some of it without it losing its impact overall. I do agree with you. I encountered some of those things myself where I'm like, where the fuck am I going now? And so I totally agree with that. But I think if you took too much of that edge off and sanded it back too much, it would just become a little bit. A lot of the power of the game would be lost.
The first puzzle, that prologue puzzle where you're trying to get that dude into the thing, and then I loved that because I was like, what the hell is going on with this?
That's what makes or breaks it. People either just get through that or they go, no, fuck this.
Yeah, true. And I mean, it is disgusting. It's a great shout for art direction because it's so specific and just nails the aesthetic top to bottom.
I actually have a question for you guys. No, so I love that art direction wise, it is like heavily inspired by 2 artists, and it does a really good marriage of their 2 styles and kind of does its own thing. But like, how do you guys feel about like full picture stuff? So for me, where I was let down with it was the enemy designs and stuff, and like they are a significant point of the game. These creatures that you face off against, and I found them so bland and kind of uninspired compared to the rest of the game and the rest of the game's art and look and everything, that it just kind of like hurt the experience for me. Is that me like nitpicking too much? Or
no, I think the combat in general I really didn't like.
I agree.
Yeah, the whole combat thing.
I think even defenders of Scorn, such as myself, are like, the combat sucks.
Yeah.
So
can you
no
avoid
one,
all
I
of
think,
it?
is really. No, you can avoid a lot of it, but there are definitely some enemies that you will need to face and you will need to kill to be able to progress. So, including a really annoying boss encounter. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's also just like literally the way that aiming works. I was like, I don't know if I'm hitting this thing or
That's
not.
true.
Distance,
that's true.
The depth
perception is so bad in that game.
Yeah, it's really strange. I think I agree, Jake, in that I actually have trouble even recalling most of the things I fought in that game.
Yeah, it's
I
like
can
There was only like 4 enemies. There was a little
Yeah.
tiny rat thing that walked on 2 legs.
Yep.
And then there was like a bigger version of that.
And there's like a little slug
then-
thing, isn't there?
He hangs
Yeah.
from the roof. Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's like a big fat dude who you have
Like
to
a
shoot with a
Krang.
shotgun.
yeah.
Right. And that's it. Those are the 4
Okay.
enemy types. So yeah, there's not a lot there.
Yeah, they could have been a bit more creative with that. I definitely don't disagree there.
Yeah,
I think across
They
the board,
definitely could've.
that it's a game that I think I liked it. I did like Scorn. I think it's not a horror game, and I think that's the weirdest point of marketing is that I didn't feel like it was horror at all, but I expected it to be. And I don't know if that's on me.
Yes.
Did you guys expect it to be horror?
No, not really.
Okay,
I don't
maybe it is
know.
just me. It's
I didn't expect horror.
it's a puzzle
I
game.
expected like creepy. I expected creepy. I wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily
Icky
expecting
simulator.
horror.
yeah, that could just be me that I was expecting it to be horror.
I got some horror vibes from it. So
Okay.
I'm surprised to
Yeah.
hear. Actually, it's not.
No,
Entirely
it's almost like a point and click adventure game, like the way that they used to be. Like
Oh.
it's almost like a modern Grim Fandango in a
Creep-
way.
Yeah.
It's more like creepy
Like
mist.
Creepy
Yeah,
Mist
Creepy
is,
Mist.
is a great shout.
Creepy
Yeah.
Mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mixed
Oh.
with like one of those just those like PS1-ish games that were just like gross and just trying to
Right.
like gross
Yeah.
Super
for the
gross.
sake of it.
True.
Yeah.
Super
Shadow
gross.
Man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I
Sure.
think it's just that
Biofreaks.
you don't know what the puzzles are, so figuring out how to solve the puzzles is the puzzle, and that's why I give like a Grim
Gotcha.
Fandango a shout, where you're like, I don't know what the puzzle is, I just know what I have to get through this door.
Gotcha.
And I kind of miss that era of.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't believe there was a puzzle in fucking Grim Fandango where you have to like get a breadcrumb to be sawn up into bits to put it somewhere so birds will go like pop up. It's
Yeah.
it's what the fuck, Tim Schafer? Like it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
insane.
Invite him in here. Let's get him in. Let's
what's
make
up?
him answer for that right now.
The fact that was a thing that we all just went through is just so nuts. It's so obtuse, but I kind of have a lot of fondness for like just poking around in worlds like that. And I think Scorn was like a really nice example of that. And yeah, glad to see it got nominated for art direction. Stray is also there. I think those two are super, super unique. Obviously, Elden Ring, God of War, and Horizon. But
Makes
the
sense, yeah.
the super unique ones there are Stray and Scorn for sure. And
Sure.
all very different looking games for the most part.
Definitely.
This is nuts. The music page almost looks exactly the same. A little bit different. We've got Playtail
Metal
Requiem.
Hellsinger.
Metal Hellsinger. So it's Playtail Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Xenoblade. All brilliant. Metal Hellsinger is the odd one out. And did you guys play that game?
Only played the demo or the preview build, I should say, actually, not the full game.
I guess the full
Yeah.
game is the preview build expanded. And it's
Sure.
it's fucking awesome. Like it's
Yeah,
just so
I loved
cool. It's so
Yeah.
so cool. It's Doom, but a rhythm game.
Musical. Doom the musical.
Yeah, kind of.
Doom the musical. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rad. Very glad to see that get nominated as well. Really, really fun time. Like that game's super addictive and just puts you in such a good mood. And
Did you play BPM?
I haven't played BPM, so
Okay,
I know
you should
everyone
play
says
BPM.
it's basically BPM, and I was like, sure,
No.
but I haven't played it.
It's actually not basically BPM. There's quite a few differences between them. And I was interested to see if you had any
Well, it's
thoughts on,
also
like,
a
why they-
rhythm shooter, though, right?
It is, yes, but the way they handle the nature of rhythm is very different because BPM is like you are the percussion, right?
Okay.
And you have the ability to do like 1/8 beats and really kind of like riff a lot and improvise a lot in your creation of that percussion backing versus Metal Hellsinger.
It
is
has
much more
percussion that you have to stick to.
correct.
Yeah.
You just need to make sure that you click the button in time with the music.
Yeah.
And so I really like both games, but I haven't played through all of Metal Hellsinger, so I shouldn't say this, but I certainly just on the back of what I played, I did prefer BPM on balance because of its ability, like the way you were just feeling like you were making that music while you were playing was fantastic. So
Yeah, I
you
should
should
check
play
it out.
BPM.
How long is it? That's the question I always ask when
It's like
recommend.
6 levels or whatever.
Great.
It's like
Consider it done. All right, awesome.
Yep.
Best audio design is kind of a boring one. No offense to the people who work really hard on this, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Gran Turismo 5. The only reason I call it boring is that it's always going to be a racing game and it's always going to be Call of Duty. Like they're always going to be there because they're so good at what they do. Like the audio design, as someone who doesn't play a lot of COD, it's just the shit they do to get those guns to sound good is so next level and wild. And they sound amazing. Sometimes they'll put like 6 6 separate microphones on just one gun to make sure that they have as many audio options as possible. And they shoot a wall, and then they shoot it into a large hollow room. They shoot into concrete. Like, they actually go and do all of that. It's so intense and just so awesome. And I'm not at all surprised that they're there either. Did anyone play Modern Warfare?
Yes, just the campaign, because I'm a weirdo.
I love the
Weird
campaigns and generally
Yeah.
play them. I just haven't yet. I imagine I will over Christmas.
Yeah,
probably.
this one focuses on the kind of like the slower sections of Modern Warfare, and they kind of like went on more of those. So that's really cool, especially in terms of sound design, where it's very like you're just in a room and like you'll hear an enemy rustling in the next room, or you'll hear like a gunshot come through a door, and then it's very like I get why it's
totally
nominated. It's
Gran
definitely not my
Turismo-
favorite campaign though, but
Yeah, people had mixed opinions on it from what I saw. I'm still gonna play it. I just always do. But
you should. Yeah,
Yeah.
defintle. It's a movie. You'll have a good time.
yeah, it looks. I thought the trailers looked really good, but yeah, I'm just I don't prioritize COD. I guess it's like a play it around Christmas type thing. With those campaigns. I didn't play Gran Turismo 7, but
Yeah, me neither.
Neither did I.
I did.
I forget
Okay,
what.
look at you
Because
go,
that
Jake.
wasn't that
I'm-
like?
I'm
Yeah,
tired.
man, you're a machine. Damn it.
Why does he get the time? What were you gonna say, Ralph?
No, I think was that like in March? It was in March, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I think I
sorry.
was so destroyed by February. I was like, no more video games for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
gonna
lot.
go outside. So yeah.
It looks beautiful and have no doubt sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So the next one that I wanted to make sure that we touch on is this ongoing indie is what I wanted to jump to because we haven't mentioned Neon White. It's the one game that is there.
Didn't play it.
Banger of a video game.
Only played the first like 2 levels and haven't touched any more. But my pile of shame this year is disgusting. I hate it. Every time I
Mine
look
is
at
really
it,
bad
I'm
this
so
year
sad.
too. I feel bad about it. Yeah. Well, that's
We haven't
comforting.
talked about Signalis yet. 'Cause everyone
Okay,
in the
so that was
chat's
going to be
like,
one that I was going to mention
On my
at the
list.
end.
Here we
is
go,
that
here we go.
I haven't played it. That's the bad
All
news.
right.
However, everything I know of Signalis and have seen of Signalis, I am rubbing it by not having played it because it looks like something I will absolutely adore.
Totally.
Like, it looks like I feel like it's right up my alley. I'm really looking forward to playing it.
Same.
I think it
Like
looks
an-
incredible.
Like a
I did play the
cyberpunky
demo.
Resident Evil?
Sorry, Yong, you go.
It's like a cyberpunky Resident Evil-esque kind of survival.
I
I
Survival
wouldn't
horror.
say it's cyberpunky. I would say it's
yeah?
more just like sci-fi horror kind
Gotcha.
of thing.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Mm.
But yeah, everyone I've spoken to says it's fantastic. It's a lot of people's game of the year.
I
It's
wouldn't be
just, like,
surprised
it's
if
a
it
real
ends up
contender.
being on there for me, and I feel bad about not doing it. But it's also like I'm almost like that because I'm not even curious. I'm like, I'm gonna love this game. Like I'm so shocked.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah,
I only
yeah.
heard of
on my
it
list.
because Susie kept tweeting about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this thing?
Shout out to
And
Susie.
I love
Shout
that.
out to Susie.
Yeah. Shout out
Appreciate
indeed.
you.
Yeah.
Took a
Mine
look at it,
was
I'm like, all right.
Influenced.
mine was Lance McDonald, Man Fight Dragon. Keeps tweeting about Signalis, and that's where I was like, okay, yeah, this looks fucking cool. It almost looks like a little bit like Hotline Miami in some of the appearances in a strange way. But it like just that's really just the aspect ratio and the specific pixel art style. But I have no doubt I'm gonna love it. Just got to get around to playing it. Unfortunately, and yeah, sad that didn't get any nominations, but maybe it's the same as it is for all of us. We just haven't played it. It's really a word of mouth spreaded thing. I have not seen it advertised
is.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
We
And I
just
think
need
if
to
it had
talk about it.
arrived earlier, more people would have been able to get on it. Like Neon White, for example, that built kind of slowly, and then all of a sudden it was like everyone was playing it. Signalis, it feels like if it had a bit more time out there before the deadline, maybe we'd be talking about it in the same way. So yeah.
yeah. So did anyone else? Jake, did you play Neon White?
No, I did not.
Let us down. Really?
Yeah.
I know. I got
has-
I got
that has
blank
guns?
spots, blind spots. Yeah. Does it have guns? I don't know.
It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it has
The
guns,
cards
yeah.
are guns.
Yeah, you pick up cards
So-
that give you different guns. So Neon White is so cool, but also not necessarily a game that I think everyone would like. It's basically speedrunning the video game. It's a speedrunning platformer with guns that are cards that you just throw out, and a lot of little Easter eggs and levels. And I guess the purpose outside of this very weird, very anime narrative that is the part that I think some people might not like so much, that like I wasn't a huge fan of, but just sort of thought was fun. Is you try to get through these levels as quickly as you can, and at the end you'll always get a leaderboard. and you're really just trying to beat your friends, and sometimes like when you start off, something will take you a really long time to finish, and then you'll see the leaderboard and be like, oh shit, I clearly did something wrong or missed something, so I'm going to go back and try this again, and that's part of the allure. Really stylish, really unique, and like the thing that Neon White needed that it has is just the ability to instantly reload the level, so you can immediately start again if you miss a jump or whatever. Like it's just a second, you just like hit reload and you're just right back at the start, ready to run again. A little bit, yeah, but really fun, just fast-paced, weird game that's like, this is a very strange shout, but sort of like some Mirror's Edge kind of appeal.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For sure.
I'm a big fan.
It's parkour with gun cards.
You telling me you run on walls?
You be running on walls, yeah.
Oh.
Climbing on them, jumping on them. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
All kinds of things.
Okay.
And guns. Yeah, it's great. So the best indie nominees are Cult of the Lamb, which I feel like we pretty much unanimously like.
Yeah.
Neon White, lesser played, but also awesome. Sifu, one of my games of the year. Absolutely adore it. Tuning, we also really like. And Stray, again, as well. Stray really showing up everywhere. And I feel like the indie games are just fucking awesome this year.
Man.
What a selection.
Yeah.
Yep.
Killed it. And they're all very different, too. None of these games are similar in the slightest.
It's some of the most unique stuff in gaming, period.
Totally.
They can really just think outside the box because these are genuinely just like passion projects. They're not necessarily trying to chase trends or whatever. They're just like, what do we want to make? What's like something badass and unique and cool or interesting that's like not out there. It's just, it comes from our unique identity as a team, and it really shows.
It's that's part of the thing about being indie is a smaller team, and the direct division can just be so streamlined, and so like, here's what we're making and here's what it is. Have it if you want.
Indeed. Yeah.
So before I let you guys go, promise it won't be much longer, I wanted to just touch on the games that we haven't spoken about at all that aren't necessarily in these categories. Did anyone play Bayonetta 3?
Yes.
Thoughts?
Not finished it. A little bit.
I finished it. Yeah. Really liked it. It is crazy wild as you'd expect. It's one of the wildest games I've ever played. The level of imagination per square inch is unmatched almost. And the only thing is, I mean, some of the new additions, because it's very much about like controlling these kaiju things during battle or in between battles, the sort of like making the kaiju fight. It's very interrupted a lot, and it has this incredible combat model that you just don't get to spend enough time with, sadly, because even its verse structure, like I don't know if you guys played Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, you go into a space, the walls come up, some enemies spawn in, you kick their ass, you get a score, walls come down, you move on to the next thing, right? I found in Bayonetta that some encounters were like 30 seconds long at the short end of the spectrum. Most of them were longer than that, obviously, 1 to 2 minutes. But I found that I was having a lot of fun in the practice mode, because at that point I could actually like play the game for like a long span of time and really get acquainted with the combos and really, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then I looked at something like Evil West, which I just played through, and I just got to fight so much more during Evil West. And I love that, and I just really wish that Bayonetta, or those like Bayonetta, I guess I should say specifically, just spent more time with more enemies in spaces where I just got to fight more shit.
Interesting.
Because there were.
I feel like Platinum's usually pretty good at that.
I think it's been a bit of a complaint in the past about Bayonetta games, but also some people are like, no, it's fine. It's about getting the platinum score. It has to be a small number of enemies. Plus, they change up the enemy composition at the higher difficulty. So the whole structure has to retain in place. But I think that's for people who really want to play these games a lot over and over again. I'm there just for like one playthrough. And in that one playthrough, I was finding I did not get to engage the combat system nearly enough, because the combat system is incredible. Like, it's crazy how much shit you can do, how deep it is, the combos. It's wild. Like, it's unbelievable. And you just don't get enough time to get good at it on your first playthrough. And I suspect you wouldn't even on your second and third. You have to spend a lot of time in the practice mode to really learn this shit. And I'm not sure that that's necessarily a great facet of its design, but other than that, it looks pretty average as well on the Switch, sadly. It's the character models all look great and the action's really smooth, but the world design is it's terrible. Like, it's so bad. We often use the thing, it looks like an Xbox 360 game, but the levels really do look like Xbox 360 levels. Like, it's bad.
I saw people say that it looks worse than like Bayonetta 2.
I actually think that it does. When I
Hmm.
went back and looked at Bayonetta 2 footage, I was like, I think this looks better. I don't know. I'm
Damn.
not sure if that's true or not. Maybe that's just, who knows. I was
Hard to
looking
say.
at certain clips. But
Yeah.
yeah, I actually kind of do agree with that.
Damn, that's rough.
Mm.
Yeah,
But still, cool game. Very cool game.
Yeah, and I saw some controversies around the story, but I'm not exactly sure what they were because I didn't want to spoil it for myself, so I haven't played it. Like whether people like the ending or not seems pretty divided, from what I can tell.
Yes,
I'm not sure
very
why.
much. I won't spoil that either, but yes, there's definitely some strong opinions on that ending.
Yeah. Another one that like is very quick one to talk about is Shredder's Revenge Ninja Turtles. I loved that.
Me too.
I think it's
It's just-
basically perfect. It's just that
Pure fun.
Yeah, it's what it does is perfect. It is a retro feeling arcadey Ninja Turtles game that's super fun co-op and plays really well, and it's ridiculous and upbeat
Yeah.
and colorful, and has also to Ralph's point about Vampire Survivors, a very fun achievement system. It's just really I think it's perfect at what it does, but what it does is
Yeah.
not necessarily enough to like elevate it to Game of the Year
Sure.
status. It's just brilliant. It's so
It just-
well executed.
It gave me a lot of nostalgia. It was like that moment in Ratatouille when the critic eats the ratatouille. And
Hell yeah.
flashes back to his childhood where you're like, I remember playing these games and having a blast with my friends with it, and it was just like it was that I was like a kid all over again playing that game. It was
It's
pure
Highly
fun.
recommended. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And then I guess that like I mean that's most of the big ones, but I'm also feel like I'm forgetting things. So I was going to throw this like to Jake. Are there any games we haven't mentioned this year that you wanted to give a shout out to?
Ollie Ollie World, super tight.
Oh yeah,
good call.
yeah.
Very
Good
cool,
call.
very good.
Very good.
It's up for like the sports racing game category. And I just love seeing games like that squeak in there. It's a very cool kind of indie, and it really builds on, if you've played the Ollie Ollie games, it's like the perfect kind of build on that formula. It's still really nice for like good quick pick up and goes. I played a lot on Steam Deck, of course. Love it.
Yeah, very good shout. Very good game. And also still approachable for people who haven't played any Oli Oli games. I think it's really good. Ralph, how about you? Anything we didn't mention that you would like to mention? It's a lot of sounds you just made.
I would say, Monkey Island I thought was really nice.
yeah.
I was really glad that came out. I don't think that's a Game of the Year nominee, but it was just really lovely that it exists, that the team managed to sort of reunite, or some of them at least, and
Yeah.
Ron Gilbert managed to put that together. And that it has this really nice kind of throwback vibe while also being quite modern. You know, they
Mhm.
really understood how to take this forward and deliver something in 2022. And I just had a really nice time with it. It was great. And so I'm just happy that exists. So yeah,
Agree on that one. Yeah.
that's pretty much all. And Power Wash Simulator, which I think was
Shout out to
awesome.
Power Wash Simulator.
Yes.
That was just great cathartic fun. I love that. It was
Me
great.
too.
Yeah.
That is, it's so weird how much I liked that game. It's fucking
Yes, it is,
so
isn't it?
weird. But I loved it.
Yes.
I played it for hours. Young, how about you? Anything we didn't mention that you want to give a shout out to?
I'd say like Multiverses was like a fun little
Yeah.
release, you know,
Yeah,
like
I
a
enjoyed
nice little
that.
crossover of these like iconic characters, and seeing Shaggy go super Shaggy mode, you know, and all the memes in there. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun. I don't know, it was like a fun little moment seeing that game release.
It's weird how consistently we're kind of giving that for virtually every game this year. And
What's that?
that we're like, it's a really fun thing that came out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Video
Maybe-
games, they're
I-
fun
Well,
sometimes.
I feel like it's like the year's almost overshadowed by these two fucking juggernaut video games at the
Yeah,
start and the end,
yeah.
but it actually probably was a really good year for video games.
It was.
Just for
Well,
everything in between.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Was this a really great year for video games?
That's what I'm kind of asking.
Well, it depends.
I don't know.
What do you
I-
mean by that? If you're
Yeah.
only looking at like, why weren't there a bunch of amazing AAA
Sure.
games? Yeah,
I think I mean that there are a lot of games that I think were better than I necessarily expected them to be. Like I feel like I was often having a good time. I didn't play many games this year that I didn't like.
I would agree with that.
Like I really liked
yeah,
Pokemon
yeah.
Legends Arceus. Like I really, really, really had a good time with that, and I'm liking Violet obviously as well. But I think Arceus, there's a lot of things about it that stand out to me much more beyond Violet. That was the thing that I was like not sure how it would go, not sure if I would dig it, and then I had a fucking wonderful time. And even Darktide, I think I'm liking more than I expected to for whatever
Darktide
reason.
rules.
Goat
Darktide
Simulator
Ghostwire
3.
Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo did come out this year.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I did not like that. I did not
That
think
one
that
is
was
also a
good.
little bit of a letdown for me, actually.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
that is a
games that were
bummer.
exceeding
I really like Dying Light 2, but as time went on and I played more games this year, it kind of like started
Yeah,
to fall down my list.
that's true. I think it starts really strong, that game, but then it really wears out its welcome by the end.
It's
Once
too long.
Rosario Dawson shows up.
It's just too long. It goes for too long.
It's
The
too
game's-
long. I
game too long.
agree. And the story really breaks down at the end. So, yeah,
This
no,
is-
absolutely.
This is more sort of, I guess, TV territory, but I want to say like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I really, really enjoyed.
Oh, dude.
Brilliant.
So
And
good.
I love that show, and like it's like so many recognizable locations from the game that you're like, I know how to get there.
Yeah.
It just felt like such connective tissue to the video game itself
Yeah.
that it just like I think it deserves a shout out on that front.
Cyberpunk in general, I think CDPR have done a really good job this year. Obviously, it's like something that, hey, you had to though because of what you released. But it's still like seeing those player counts go up and seeing people enjoy the game for the things that like I always enjoyed about it as someone who didn't have a ton of technical problems on the jump.
Yeah.
I was playing with the 3080 a month after they came out or whatever. It always worked pretty well for me on PC. So it's been very nice to see people enjoying the things about that game that are really good. And
Yeah, for sure.
the things that are good are really good. So that's been cool too, as the tie-in for Edge Runners.
For sure.
To bring
For
more
sure,
people
for
back to Cyberpunk is awesome.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, Sifu, best fighting game of the year.
That's
obviously.
you know what?
That's
How'd
that's a
that
clear one.
happen?
I don't know.
That's what we tried to get Jeff in here to answer for
Yeah, we were
himself.
going to be like,
but,
Jeff, explain
he
again.
dodged that one.
Jeff knew. He's
He
like,
does not. He
Smart
doesn't
Jeff.
do that. He's
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
one who
yeah.
votes. But it is weird. It does mean that the international professional jury all were like Sifu fighting game.
Okay, here's
It's
a
for
random
people like
question.
me.
It's
Here's a random
Jake, yeah.
question. Here's a random question.
Yeah, go
Okay.
Okay.
So we've like done like best game of the year game. What about like game adjacent thing? Right? So like one thing as an example is I'm listening to the Hideo Kojima podcast right now. Is anyone else on this?
Yeah,
So good.
It's
I
very
love it
good.
I'm a bad fan.
so
Fake
much.
it's very good.
Today he just like was hanging out with the director of Top Gun Maverick and he was just literally fangirling over
What?
this director. Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. And like it's pretty clear that the Top Gun Maverick guy doesn't play any Kojima games.
I really know
but,
who he is. Yeah.
No, I think
wonderful.
he knows who he is because this guy actually directed commercials in the past for Gears of War, and he was talking about how he was hanging out with Cliffy B. And at some point, Kojima's like, "Oh yes, I know Cliffy B. We used to see each other. He reached out to me on Twitter saying he wanted to catch up, but I have not got back to him yet." Anyway, and then he moves on to the next point. You know? So, but there's like so many funny moments
God.
in this podcast
Awesome.
that are just like that. It's incredible. Like he's hanging out with like the director of Ghost in the Shell, the
Yeah.
original movie,
Ah,
and they're just
I've listened to
bitching
the
about,
first
like,
3 episodes, and
Oh,
I love
so
it.
good.
Yeah, it is.
It's like,
very good.
oh, I used to know James Cameron before he got fat. Now he's just directing Avatar movies. Is that how you'd want to end your career?
Oh my
That's not how
God.
I'd want to end my
Savage.
career. It's the
Sassy.
best.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any game adjacent things that you're like, hey, I do like is it like a magazine? Like obviously Talk TV
Game
with
adjacent
Edge Runners
yeah,
or whatever.
Edge Runners is like my thing, I guess.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
also probably give Edge Runners. I'm trying to think of what else there has been that's come out this year to do with video games that I love. I mean, I loved Arcane and I only watched it this year. It did come out
Sure.
last year, but it was incredible. Loved
Amazing.
it. It's just
Amazing.
mind-blowingly well made. Beautiful.
The last did Uncharted come out this year? The last action scene in Uncharted, I went, oh, that's okay. That's pretty good.
I
the
think
last,
that
like,
may
10
have come out
scene.
this year. Yes, that is a film.
I also tried the Tetris flavored G Fuel. I've never had G Fuel.
Ooh,
It made
now
me-
we're
it made me
talking.
sick.
This is
You're
what
a
I'm
real
talking
gamer.
about.
It made me
That's what I'm
sick.
talking about.
I didn't feel good.
Wasn't good.
Um,
No.
And also Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
Yes.
Steam Deck. Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
Pretty unbelievable, actually. Yeah. I keep being like, I can buy a third-party dock.
Yes.
I could just-
I have mine right here.
I just
Amazing.
buy whatever I want, and it doesn't cost what? It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
nuts. It's like so
Actually,
weird.
Tomorrow, I'm actually releasing a video that I made entirely using the Steam Deck.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I've edited did the face cam, audio, everything. Like I made the entire video just using the Steam
Holy
Deck. and I'm
shit,
just
that's
like,
so
that's great.
cool.
gonna tell people
That's
about how
awesome.
that went. Yeah.
Nice.
So like that was something cool that I just got to test out. I used this dock that has like this M.2 NVMe SSD slot. So I was like, oh, so like that actually makes this like a viable potentially, like a viable PC that I could use and store a bunch of files in, and large video files and edit with that. And it was Steam Deck was not made for editing. Obviously,
No.
I would not recommend it as this is like a plan D, like if you're out of every other option. But it's like it was possible. I actually made it happen. So that was
Wow,
fun to do, I
that's
guess.
very cool. That's
Can't wait
nuts.
to watch that.
Yeah.
A gaming
awesome.
console being able to do that is kind of crazy. You know
That's
what I mean?
nuts, dude. That's
What a time
super
to be alive.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
what a time to be alive for sure.
Mm.
The only other thing that I really wanted to mention is I really had a great time with Halo Infinite multiplayer.
Oh, cool.
I really, really, really enjoyed it in a way that a lot of people didn't, I think. I don't know. I like it was just fucking awesome to be back in Halo. I had LAN parties with people here and shit. It was rad. But
Was that at launch, or was that like this year you did that?
that was at launch, though I have still been playing
Okay.
this year on and off. And here's the one
Okay.
thing that I will say that I think is worth mentioning is like a thing this year is that I haven't played the campaign because I was holding out for split screen co-op. I was
Rip
so
Ripperino.
excited. So excited. And it's like, I get that shit happens. But man, like it like hit me on an emotional level where I'm not gonna like go yell at them or anything, but I was like, fuck, dude, like I just wanted that so bad. And I have all these memories of playing through those games, split screen co-op on a couch for hours with friends, and
Yeah.
I was just so bummed.
It's weird because I think somebody managed to like dig through the files and like activate
Yeah.
what's kind of I guess it's not the final version, but there is like a split screen co-op thing that's already in there that already plays pretty well.
I think
So I'm, like,
Digital
curious.
Foundry actually did a video.
Was it Digital
on
Foundry?
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, as in someone else found it, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that Digital Foundry.
They made a whole
Halo's
video on it
split
or
screen.
something.
And they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, this works. This is viable.
And it works well. It wasn't like
yeah,
so I'm curious
that's
as
so
to like why
weird.
they just so suddenly decided now we're not doing this.
I don't
it was-
know. Just like
Yeah, man.
priorities, I guess. They just want to
Yeah.
they want to make more money from multiplayer, I guess.
Sure.
I know they just launched a Forge not too long ago
Yeah.
as well, which
Good
I did
stuff
play around
coming
with,
out.
and it's really good. Yeah, it's already super fun. So I liked Halo a lot, and I'm only including it because I think it came after the cutoff last year, but also did not seem to get any nominations.
Yeah.
Which I think happens when shit comes out in December. People are like, what? Also, how have we not mentioned Overwatch 2 at any point?
I think we all know the answer to that.
I
It's
didn't
Overwatch.
I didn't play it.
I
mean-
played it a little bit. It's Overwatch, I still like playing Overwatch, but it's it just feels like Overwatch. I wasn't like, two
It
is
is a
here.
really weird thing to call it 2.
It really
so
is.
dumb.
It-
dumb
It makes
call.
no sense.
No.
Like at least if it would have shipped with the the campaign thing that they're doing, maybe it could have helped justify it, depending on how expansive that really is. But just releasing the multiplayer
Yeah.
on its own, I'm just like, it's Overwatch.
Someone in
moving
chat
on.
said, "Quick, bring Lucy in."
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Good
Oh,
point.
She's busy playing Overwatch right now. She can't
Probably,
come.
yeah. Same as Jeff. They're just playing Overwatch
Yeah.
together. I actually preferred Gundam Evolution. So, like, not again, I didn't play Overwatch 2,
Yeah,
but that's
right.
because it didn't appeal to me because it just looks like more Overwatch, whereas Gundam Evolution is Overwatch with Gundams, and it's sick. Like, I really
Yeah.
had a good time playing it. It was really, really fun. Super hard, very sweaty. Overwatch vibes, for sure.
Sweaty anime nerds.
Absolutely. Yeah, where you just get absolutely steamrolled and you're furious about it, even though it's your own fault kind of thing. So it's a game I can only play in a certain mood, otherwise I'm just pissed off. But I did really like it. And yeah, Goat Simulator 3 just came out, and also Beers and Boomerangs. I believe the review
Very big
embargo
call.
for that was today.
Great shout. Great shout.
Handhelds.
I'm actually, and then
handhelds
there's
this year too.
Say
The
again?
Analog Pocket and the Playdate. Good year for handhelds. Weird
right.
handhelds. If
Are those
if
still,
you like
like-
experimenting.
Aren't those like sold out? Because like I tried to get one, but I think when I checked last time, it was just like everyone bought
Yeah,
one.
I think the availability is pretty limited still
Yeah.
on a lot of
Okay.
them. But
Alright.
it's fun stuff if you can get your hands on them, and if you just like hardware. Like I just like tech.
I love-
I just
yeah.
like
Yeah, me too.
being a goblin that
cool.
just
Yeah.
gathers up all these products.
Hell yeah.
Then it's good.
The industry
Awesome.
loves you for that. Please
Right.
keep
I'm a
Stuff
consuming.
goblin. Yeah.
right.
I
But
I
Where you
also just wanted to give a nice little shout out to Stadia, of all things, for sending me refunds for games that I bought and played through Stadia without me requesting them. When I got the email saying that I had been refunded, I was like, holy shit, this never
Aw.
happens. What the fuck?
Oh yeah.
They
Check
just
my
sent me the email saying
What's
that
my
I had been
refund?
refunded for games that I'd bought and played on Stadia. Because I actually
I
had a,
gotta
like,
check.
Stadia worked really well for me. I don't know if you were the same, Young, in LA. It was really smooth
hit
for
or
me.
miss for me.
I would say
Oh,
same, not consistently, but like
Yeah.
for the most part, I was like,
Yeah,
This
I think
works.
later in its life cycle, I like came back to a little bit. I'm like, okay, this definitely works better now than it did like sort of in the launch month. But I was still like, I still wouldn't play. Like, I could still tell the difference in terms of the responsiveness. I think that's my main thing.
Well, it was also just the screen just gets real pixelated. There's
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
does.
artifacting. I think I was using it to play Destiny of all things because
Right.
it was so I didn't have to download it at multiple PCs.
Right.
So I could just play Destiny at different places without being like, I don't know, 100 gigabytes or whatever. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Where's my refund? Shit.
You should have
Let's
them.
see.
I didn't apply.
I think they said that they're still rolling out like through December, like to January. So maybe
Gotcha.
maybe I'm like still.
Yeah, I
spent a lot of
I
fucking
just thought it
money
was
on that.
this like just a rad thing to do. Like what an
Sure.
Crazy, unprecedented.
Yeah.
I think it's
Very
more
good.
about like not getting sued.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you think that's it's a legal problem?
I
Not that I'm
mean,
aware of.
I'm gonna guess it has something to do with it. I'm sure there's some class action lawsuit that could get spun up if
Yeah, maybe.
you bought
They
a
wanna
game and
keep
then
the
6
gamers
months
happy.
later. Yeah, 6 months later, they're like, "Oh, we're winding up our service, and you don't get a refund." Bye. And then it's like, well, if you bought it within 8 months and you don't get a refund, but somewhere within
Maybe
6
you could
months
apply
does,
for
then
one. Yeah.
I don't know. Then they just said, "Fuck it, we're Google. Just take all the money. This didn't work out.
Yeah.
Let's just move on."
Yeah,
you know?
They
I
want to keep
guess.
the gamers
Yeah.
happy because we're
Yeah.
annoying.
That's
Yeah.
I
also
don't know.
true. We're pretty annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Can't
Yeah, I
argue
mean, really, like the tech, undeniably cool. Everything else, really,
It launched in early access and they said that it didn't. But it
Yeah.
didn't. That wasn't a full release. It was early
and the
access.
business model really, I think, is what killed it for
Stupid.
me.
Just
yeah.
ridiculous. Come on now.
But,
what do you
Arena.
think you're doing?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Some people
But
giving
I
shout
think-
outs to Sonic Frontiers and Trombone Champ in here.
Oh,
Trumbo Champ,
That was
yeah.
good. That was good.
Good.
That
It
was
is
fun.
good. That was a
That's what we
good
can all
time.
agree on.
I
Got
only
genuine laughs from
Yeah.
it.
got
so.
into that recently, and the intro that's like very Dark Soulsy.
Yeah.
Because, oh my god, it's like it's
I
such
forgot
a
about
mean
that. So
video
funny.
game. I freaking love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters as well. I haven't played
Oh,
that
yeah.
yet. Yeah, to the
Oh, yeah,
disrespect
me
of
neither.
everybody, but I will get there. I'll play it eventually. That also seemed really fun. It's
Sure.
just a year with a bunch of fun shit. I don't know. And vote for Nebellion, Content Creator of the Year.
Yes,
Yes,
100%.
I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. There's no
Aha,
way.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Yeah.
We still have Callisto.
Yes, which is
we
still
have
my most anticipated game of the year. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
yep, Need
Oh,
for
wait.
Speed Unbound.
Which looks cool.
Marvel's
Sorry,
Midnight
Night
Suns.
Suns.
Yep.
We've
Mhm.
got High on Life.
Oh yeah, that's next month.
And we've got Crisis Core. They're the last. They're the
Fucking
last
looking forward
big,
to Crisis
big
Core too.
releases.
I mean, that's a lot
Yeah.
of big releases considering the time left.
God,
Yeah, I know.
That's right. Usually everything's like wound up in
God.
November, but
I'm
there
looking
are
forward
1,
to all
2,
of
3, 4, 5. Well, High on Life's a bit, but like
Yeah.
at least 4.5 major releases.
I did
so-
get to play
Wild.
Crisis Core early. I played like 20 minutes of it. I don't know if anyone else like got a hands-on thing. Okay, yeah, it's very much like a visual remake more than anything. But God, the
I'll take
visuals
it.
are really well
It's
remade.
one of my favorite
Yeah.
Final Fantasy games, which I recognize is nuts.
Yeah,
but I love it.
I've never I like looks at some old footage and it's just like it's night and day difference. But it still feels like a PSP game in that the design hasn't really changed much. The combat does feel better. I did sort of go back and play like the intro just to gauge the difference, and the combat does feel significantly better. The visuals significantly better, but like the level design feels identical, and so in that sense, it feels like a game that was made for PSP that just suddenly just has really great graphics.
Mhm.
But like if fans love the original, my God, they're gonna love this one. Is what I think. Yeah.
I can't wait. And Callisto Protocol is still my most anticipated game of the year.
Same.
I'm super excited about that.
There's a there's a
Fifth?
preview podcast. Have you seen that?
Of Callisto Protocol?
Yeah,
I don't doubt it. They've been making, I think, enough content at this point about Callisto Protocol that I made the choice to stop consuming it.
Right. Well, there is a prequel podcast that's voiced by Brienne of Tarth.
Sorry, you mean it's like
Yeah.
like an audio play?
Like an actual on Spotify right now. There is a dramatized
Oh.
prequel to the Callisto Protocol, and I forget her name, but the actress, it's Brienne of Tarth,
Yeah.
and she is in it. And I've only listened to the first like 2 minutes, but it sounds pretty cool.
That's
and I'm gonna
really
listen to
cool.
it ahead of playing the game.
I
So,
thought you
yeah.
meant that it was like them doing a podcast
No.
talking about
Yeah.
production. And I was like, I've heard
No,
enough
no,
about
no,
the
no,
production
no.
of this game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gwendolyn Christie, right?
Yeah,
Gwendolyn
that's it.
Christie?
That's it. That's
Mhm.
it. That's her name. Yeah. Damn. That's
Huh.
awesome.
Yeah.
Played Lucifer and
Yes. The Keanu Reeves Constantine.
No.
Sandman.
Yeah.
No,
Sandman.
Constantine is not her at all. It's just somebody who kind of looks like her.
Yeah, Sandman. That's what it was.
Yeah, she's
Random.
great. Yeah, but
She's
that's
great.
that's really cool. What a cool idea.
Yeah, I love it.
Huh.
I'm super excited to
the-
jump into it. So
you took a listen? Was it like
Only like the
compelling?
first 2 minutes.
Oh,
Just, it was
gotcha.
like a lot of ambient industrial noise and like they
Okay.
were, walkie-talkie, like you gotta go
Yeah.
do this and all that sort of shit. Then I had to do it something else.
Sure.
So, but
Okay.
it sounds cool. And as I
I'll
said, they're
check it
like,
out.
I think there's 4 episodes at 20 minutes a pop ish.
Mhm.
Holy
And
shit.
it's just like a nice setup for when the game drops. And
Hell yeah.
that's just nice early, getting excited kind of stuff.
Hashtag
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, can't wait. All right. Thank you guys for chatting with me again today. Jake, what are you up to? Where can people find you?
Thank you for having me. Where am I? What am I? Who am I? On the social medias at Jake Baldino, YouTube Jake Baldino. Game Ranks every Friday for the news before he buys, and the Friends Per Second podcast. It's fun. I do a podcast every other week with my pals.
Yeah.
Good time.
Ralph, how about you? What are you up to? Where can people find you? What you working on?
I am SkillUp. I just reviewed Evil West. It's cool. Even though most people don't really like it very much. I think it's rad. And I'm going to do Midnight Suns. I'm playing through that at the moment. It has really cool combat, but the hero stuff back at base is a little bit wonky. And going to do Callisto Protocol when that drops as well. And that's kind of it, really. And then, I'm going to the Game Awards. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in LA and going to see people, which is going to be cool. And then I'm going to take some time off, man, because the last 3 months have been a lot. I'm going
Yeah.
to sleep for a few months and go outside for walks and shit.
Good man.
But yeah, it's that plus all the reviews plus Friends Per Second podcast on the channel and on podcast platforms. That's me.
Young, how about you?
Yeah, same old. Twitter at YongYea or Hive eventually, maybe, who knows, whatever's going on there. And then youtube.com/YongYea, same old, news, occasional reviews, and other types of videos.
Looking forward to that Steam Deck video.
Yeah, on the 23rd it'll come out. And you can kill me in God of War. So if you hate me, you can, that's therapeutic right there. So that's nice.
Great job, by the way.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, same old. Hit me up in
Cool.
any of those outlets. Yeah.
I will leave links in the description on YouTube to where you can find everybody. And otherwise, we'll see you next time we do this in some months. You want to just come, let's say goodbye, Banjo. Oh, what a nice dog.
Bye, puppy.
All right,
Love
bye,
you.
everyone.
Young out.
Every fucking time.